We are at the AHSAA offices in Montgomery, the headquarters of the Alabama High School Athletic Association. It is the Saturday before the Super 7 State Football Championships at Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn. And all the state championship coaches in Class 1A through 6A, 7A was here last week, 1A through 6A are all here for a big meeting in Montgomery. We're going to take you into the big room now. The Executive Director of the Alabama High School Athletic Association, Coach Steve Savarese, going to speak to all the high school head coaches headed for the state championships at this time.
Davis works every Friday night, every Saturday morning during the playoffs. She does it because she loves it. She's here for you. She knows every one of you. And I just wanted to tell her, thank you so much. Not for what you do, but we pay her to do it. But she doesn't do it because of that. She does it because she loves it. And it's how you do what you do. And last night, Alvin and I were in Mobile, and we worked from our hotel rooms, and Elaine sent us everything on time, checking it. We went through it. She didn't even need us. Thank you for the job. And Stevie, again, I want to take the time to say thank you for 5 more weeks. Remember what we told you, we have a lifetime contract. And you're going to be, I just thank you for the 20 plus years you've been here, serving our coaches, bringing breakfast again this morning. You do an awesome job. There's still more, I know, in the back. I think we all need to thank Stevie Steele. Appreciate you doing it. It would have been possible without my wife today. Thank you, Ms. Steele. We thank you for being here today. You know, Stevie's brother, Ted, used to be my neighbor. He was also, he's a great guy and a great servant. So we thank you guys so very, very much for all you do. I want to thank the Central Board of Control. The Central Board of Control is always so supportive of our membership. I could not have any more of a privilege to work for the 15 people that I work for. You know, first of all, Pam, Dr. Larry Raines, you know, we appreciate them. Terry Curtis, who sits here. I do want to tell you this. While I went back there, Terry looked at me and he says, remember now, you work for me. I said, yes, sir. Let me take your plate, too. And I took his plate and I threw it away. But no, I do have the privilege of working for 15 great board members. And what's so great about these board members, they are elected individuals, but they're elected by our districts, and they're all educators. So they all have the same common value system, and they truly love sports in the state of Alabama. Let's thank our Central Board of Control. And I want to thank all of our hosts. Most of them have already gone, and we have to change this meeting today because they have to get back for the game today. But I'm always very grateful for all that they do. D-Mark, Ron, again, from Auburn, Opelika this week. You know, I had the privilege last year of going to the Auburn City Council. I asked if I could go on Tuesday night for the game and thank them for what they do for us. This year I get the privilege of going to Opelika City Council. I get to thank them for what they do for us. And remember now, they make a huge investment into high school sports in this state. A huge investment. You know, what this game does, it gives our sport of football relevance. And it would not happen without those cities. So one more thanks to those folks. And I'd be remiss if I did not thank Bubba Scott and Dan Washington. You know, neither one of them, Mr. Washburn will be at the game. It's always my privilege to make sure he is there. Very grateful for them. You know, all of us have had teachers. You know, some of you, well, we all realize, hopefully, the impact we have on students. But that's our first priority is as a teacher. And teachers are never given the credit they so truly deserve. But we teach more than just in the classroom. Mr. Washburn took the time to teach me for 6 months. And that on-the-job training that I had was critical to allow me to have the opportunity to be halfway successful. So I'll be forever grateful for him. I'll be forever grateful that he started the Super 6 at that time. But I'll be ever grateful for Mr. Scott for the foundation that he built with this organization. So I'm very thankful for them. And I know we don't have any media in here now, but I do thank the media for the wonderful coverage that we'll have this week. Ron, I know you've been bombarded with media credentials, so I'm sure it's an all-time high. It is every year we break the records.
Last night, before I left here, it was up to like 273, and that was not counting our permanent credentials.
So you're going to be hit up with a lot of different media. This is our showcase event for football, and I'm grateful that we have you as participants. Before I turn this meeting over to Alvin, I got to tell you what Alvin told me. Alvin said, you know, Coach, it's kind of like having an athlete and an offensive lineman. We know he's talking about me being an offensive lineman. And then he's talking about himself being an athlete, even though he never tackled anybody. You know, he talks about himself. And he says, you just do a little of the rough work and let the athletes take over. So I'm going to let him take over in just a minute, let the athlete take over. But this game, we will have instant replay, different than you probably faced all year. We'll have multiple cameras. And I'm glad we got Coach Rhodes back here. And let me introduce Coach Rick Rhodes, who's back with WOTM. Many of you know Coach Rhodes, a national championship coach, one of the finest coaches and human beings that ever come out of this state. Coach Rhodes, we are really glad you're covering our games with us this week. Thank Coach Rhodes. And so we're faced with a lot of different challenges. Some of you have been in the game, you understand this, but I have asked Mark to come up here first and go over instant replay. If you have any questions, I want you to ask them now, because it'll be critical. We've had, in the last 7 replays we have, I know I saw them at Thompson and Phoenix City, I think we had 7 replays, 5 decisions overturned. So it's critical you understand, and there are some of you that use instant replay in here. So please welcome, and Mark has done a great job with the officials all year. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Good morning and congratulations, everybody. A few things about instant replay. I'm going to go kind of all the way through it for those of you that have never used it and really don't know a whole lot about it. You get 2 challenges. You got a red flag, you throw the red flag before the next snap or free kick of the play that you're going to challenge. The referee will come over, you tell the referee exactly what it is that you're challenging. This game, there will be an instant replay official. We're using the same equipment that we'll be using today in the Alabama-Auburn game, which is fantastic. But the instant replay official will review the play. While they're reviewing the play, they also have the autonomy to review any unsportsmanlike act or flagrant personal foul. So if there was a flagrant personal foul that wasn't called on the play, they have the opportunity to correct that while they're reviewing the play as well. But you get 2 challenges. You maintain that challenge or those challenges as long as you are correct. If the challenge stands, you will lose that challenge and be charged a timeout. If you do not have any timeouts, you'll be charged a delay game penalty if the play is not overturned if it stands. Okay, but you get 2 and you maintain those 2. In this game, all scoring plays are possible scoring plays. In other words, if it's close to the goal line and he might have scored but they didn't award a score, the instant replay official automatically reviews those plays. So there's no need to throw the flag on those plays. Those plays are automatically reviewed. Every touchdown that is scored is automatically reviewed. We won't have the extra point until the touchdown is confirmed. But if you think you might have scored and they're trying to review that play and they're snapping it real quick, if you want to challenge that, just to make sure that it does get reviewed, you can do that. But if you lose, it will be one of your challenges. But they're going to try and review that play as quickly as possible. So you get those two. The things that you can challenge is basically anything with the exception of a flag being thrown or not thrown. In other words, you can't challenge holding, you can't challenge a face mask. The only things that you can challenge is whether or not they had more than 11 players on the field, whether or not the pass was thrown beyond the line of scrimmage, and that is anywhere along the field, whether or not it was forward or backward pass. You have the opportunity to do that. You also have the opportunity to challenge any ejection for a flagrant foul. You have the opportunity to have that reviewed by challenging that play. I caution you on that, though, that if you do review that, maybe number 14 shouldn't have been thrown out, but number 12 and number 55 should have. So if something like that happens, again, they have the autonomy to review that. Timing errors can be reviewed in the event of a timing error, as long as it is visible in the clock. Any questions about the procedure or how that works? Great. Good luck to you.
Thank you, Mark. Mark and Ken will be available before every game. They will be on the field. If you have questions about replay, please ask them before time. And, you know, it's vital that you understand the procedure for replay where you don't err and waste the time out. You do not want to challenge a call that is not challengeable. So are you sure you don't have any other questions for Mark regarding replay? All right, I'm going to remember this. No other questions.
One other thing, we'll provide you with the red flags. Please make sure we get those back.
Thanks, Mark. Before I turn it over to Alvin, we're going to set the brackets. Remember, the home team is still established the same way. While we set the brackets, we'll pass out a packet to you. Do not open the packet. You'll open it when we bring up night eating. If that, I won't give you the packet right now. You want to wait till Michael comes in? Just put the bag down. Everything, we're going to go over everything in the bag, I promise. Just like you do your students, the same exact way. Just wait on the bag. We're going to set the brackets. Class 1A. Lynette defeated Sweetwater, 42-35. Marshall Bible defeated Pickens County, 22-18. Two number 1 seeds, travels equal. Based on top of the bracket, Lynette is the home team. You don't have to say anything, we're good. If you have any questions, you can ask questions about it. Class 2A, Reeltown defeated Leroy, 29-28. That was overtime, correct, Coach?
Yes, sir.
Fife defeated Collinsville, 21-0. Based on travel, Fife is not travel, Reeltown is travel. Reeltown, you are the home team. Fife, you will be in the visiting locker room. Class 3A. The home team uses the Auburn locker room, and the visiting team will use the visitors locker room. It's the same one Alabama will use today. It's the same thing. All right. Class 3A, Mobile Christian defeated T.R. Miller, 41-21. Piedmont defeated Walter Wellman, 41-7. Both teams are number 1 seed, both teams have traveled equal. Mobile Christian, you're a 2 seed. Piedmont's a 1 seed. Piedmont, you're the higher seed. You are the home team. Mobile Christian is visiting. Class 4A. UMS Light defeated Andalusia 21-14. Jacksonville defeated Anniston 34-13. Both of you are #1 seeds, travels equal, goes to the top of the bracket. UMS, you're the home team. Jacksonville will be in the visitors' locker room. Class 5A. Pleasant Grove defeated Briarwood Christian 16-14. Central Clay defeated Mortimer Jordan 27-0. Pleasant Grove's traveled 3 times, Clay twice. Therefore, Pleasant Grove, you're the home team. Central Clay will be in the visitors' locker room. Class 6A. Spanish Fort defeated Opelika 27-24. Oxford defeated Vincent Valley 31-28. Spanish Fort has traveled twice, Oxford once. Based on travel, Spanish Fort, you'll be in the home locker room. Oxford will be in the visitors' locker room. Class 7A. Central of Phoenix City defeated Auburn 38-0. Thompson defeated Hoover 35-21. Neither team has traveled. Both are #1 seeds. Therefore, based on the top of the bracket, Central of Phoenix City is the home locker room. Thompson is the visitor locker room. Any questions about the brackets? Any concerns? The brackets are hereby set. Mr. Brooks.
Good morning, coaches. Good morning. Congratulations. I'm just going to give a few highlights that's going to be in the manual that Michael will go over once you get up here, but I want to hear a few things to make sure you understand that you need to talk to your principal when you get back home. I know we got a couple of principals here now, but it's important that you get with your principal with everything that's in your packet that you get, so everything's handled. I'm going to tell you, please get with your cheerleader sponsor, please get with your band director, let them understand what's going on in this manual. Because if you don't, we'll end up having calls here, and you need to make sure it's handled there at your school with everything that's in it. Don't forget those personnel that's in this when Mike will go over this. But I just want to give a few highlights and make sure you understand the importance and getting those things started. Mark went over the instant replay. I know he just went over a few things, but you can go read that. That's in the last page of that manual. All the instant replay things that you need to know and what you need to know is in there. Also, Mark's numbers in there. Don't call him at halftime during the game and ask him, but call him prior to the game if you have any questions. But just write them down, as Coach said. So in pregame, if you got questions about instant replay, anything, you can talk to him about that during pregame and any time before that. Don't do it before that. Before I go any further, as your teams have gotten here, and they got here for a reason because of what you and your staff have done and what they've accomplished. We're going to be on television for all 7 games, 8 games, with the unified game as well. We want to make sure we show the utmost sportsmanship from our teams, our coaches, from our fans. Let's make sure we do the right thing. Let's make sure we have appropriate signage. You're going to have run-through signs. Make sure they're appropriate. We don't have inappropriate signs. Because the last thing I want to do is tell your cheerleaders they can't put up a sign. And then, plus, we're talking salaries about a fine, too. So we don't want to come to a state championship game and get a fine for an unsportsmanlike act. Let's make sure we handle everything in the right way and do the right thing. If you're the athletic director, make sure you check those signs and have your principal check those signs, because you don't want any inappropriate things on those signs. So that's the last thing that we want to be known for, something inappropriate done those times. First thing I want to talk about is team captains. In your packet, make sure it's on page 18. You'll see those. We want to make sure we get teachers as our team captains. We get 4 of them, and make sure that you do it. you getting a chance at night to have so they can get the right credentials so they can be there. That's a big highlight for our teachers. Our teachers, when Coach started this several years ago, that was a highlight of the opening ceremonies. Those teachers walking out there and hearing their name, and they're walking out there and they're pumped. It shows a lot of school community sportsmanship and shows a lot of fan involvement. So let's make sure we do that and we have all that set up beforehand. The game schedule, it starts on page 44. You can look in there and see the countdown for the game schedule. The first 2 games and even the 7-8 games before the games to start the day, you'll have somewhere between 90 minutes to get out and get things started. But after that, the middle game and the last game of each evening, you're going to have at least 45 minutes of warm-up time. So you can look at your the countdown clock and be ready for those and work through those. Most of you guys understand that and understand what we're doing with the countdown clock. If you have any questions, you can call Nadia, you can call me here at the office, and we'll make sure we help you understand all those for the countdown clock.
What's the minimum?
Minimum is 45 minutes. Maximum is 90. That's the first 2 games on Thursday and Friday and the 7-day game. Talk about bands. Make sure your bands understand this with the band director. We talk about this every week. There's 1 chaperone per 10 band students. 1 chaperone per 10 band students. The biggie is going to be cheerleaders. Make sure your cheerleader sponsor understand there's a maximum of 24 cheerleaders. A maximum of 24 cheerleaders can come in the gate with the cheerleader sponsor. Not the JV, 9th grade, 7th, 8th grade, maximum 24 cheerleaders, the one you've been using all year. Field passes. That's the biggie. Field passes are in your manual. Michael's going to go over that. What you have for your classification is what you have for your classification. And it's respectfully what Michael will go over with. And don't call him after we leave here. Call 90 and see if you can get any more. They're going to be what they are. And it's what we went through and what we've done over the years. We've looked at and evaluated. So all those are the same. When you get ready to do your school videographer, the guy that's filming for you, that's going to be in your team allotment. So the film guys are going to be in your team allotment. So make sure that the number of film people you use is in that team allotment. So you have the right person.
Officials with the Alabama High School Athletic Association, Steve Savarese, Mark Jones, Alvin Briggs, and others, speaking to all the state championship coaches about all the goings-on, what they can expect at Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn for the Super 7 state championships. We will take a break. We come back, we'll have more from Montgomery, including interviews with some of those state championship coaches as we continue previewing the Super 7 state championships.
It's time to get after it. So turn it on, crank it up, and let's get after it together. America's first small business services.
Hot under the collar because your basement is full of water? Call a local company you can trust. Ox Foundation Solutions. We use the most advanced water management system to stop water from invading your basement for good. Things feeling a little uneven at home? Ox Foundation Solutions will fix your uneven concrete sidewalk, driveway, or basement in no time. Ox Foundation Solutions has the best plan to keep your home safe. If you are experiencing any issues with your sidewalks, basement, crawl space, or foundation, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
WOTM, your new home for high school sports in Alabama. WOTM has you covered with live coverage of all 7 championship games of the Super 7. WOTM is available to all TV providers in Alabama. If WOTM is not currently a part of your channel lineup, call your provider and request that they add WOTM. WOTM, your exclusive TV home for the AHSAA Super 7 basketball, baseball, and softball championships. All live only on WOTM.
We are coming to you from the Alabama High School Athletic Association offices in Montgomery, and we are previewing the Super 7. We have the Super 7 coaches meeting, live coverage of that coming up all morning long here as we have the semifinal round of the Alabama High School Athletic Association state football playoffs in the bag now, and now we're headed for the finals, the state championship games coming up at Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn, the 2019 Super 7 Championships. We're going to be interviewing all the coaches today here at the AHSAA offices that are involved in classes 1A through 6A. We begin. Our first interview will be the head coach of the Pleasant Grove Spartans out of Class 5A. They're the 5A South Alabama champions, had a big win on Friday night against Briarwood Christian on the road, 16-14. Coach Wilbeau, welcome in. Glad to have you with us. Congratulations on taking Pleasant Grove, your alma mater, back to the Super 7.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Tell us about the game with Briarwood Christian, a rematch of a regular season game that you won. They say it's tough to beat a team twice, but you did it. But it was an exciting game Friday night as you beat Briarwood 16-14.
Yes, sir. Definitely. Atmosphere was pretty crazy. Briarwood is a tough team. Traditionally, they always going to play hard, going to be gritty, and told the kids before the game, hey, expect the 4 quarters game. Don't get too high, don't get too low. Expect to play 4 quarters and be prepared for battle.
Speaking of not being high and too low, that's I would imagine, a big challenge for every coach that's in this Super 7. Semifinals are big. It's the top 2 teams in South Alabama. In your case, you win the game. It was a close game, came right down to the wire. Now you've got to turn back around in a short week and get ready to play in a state championship game. So what's the philosophy there, how you handle that?
Just our main goal every week is to go 1-0. I give the kids 24 hours, to enjoy the win, and definitely send it out in the group. Hey, we have X amount of hours before we have to lock back in on the next opponent. We have this thing where we say we burning the ships and continue on marching forward. We have to let go of everything else that happened, prior to this moment and march forward.
You're in your 2nd year as head coach at Pleasant Grove, but you're not a stranger to the great community out in western Jefferson County. You're a 2003, proud 2003 graduate of Pleasant Grove. How special is this for you to come back and coach your alma mater to the state championship game?
It's awesome. If you would have asked me 3 years ago if I'd be in this position right now, I probably would have bet my check on it that I probably wouldn't be here, but it's been a blessing. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. Definitely for my principal, Mr. Watkins, giving me this opportunity to come back home and to try to push this program in the direction that I think it can go in.
You only had 1 loss this year. That was to Ramsey early in the season. You certainly avenged that in the quarterfinals, big time, 51-22. What in your mind makes this Spartan team so special?
I think it's our grit. We established some things prior to the spring. We had mat drills, and I pushed those seniors, and I pushed them to get them to understand that in order for us to go deep or to have a successful season, we was going to have to lean on them. So, this group, they come to work every day with their hats on, and they work hard, and they take everything we give them.
You spent some time over in East Alabama. You spent time with 3 years as an assistant coach with Bill Smith at Munford High School in Talladega County, next door to the opponent that you're going to be playing, Central Clay County, in the state championship game coming up on Thursday night at Jordan-Hare Stadium. So tell us about being over in that part of the area. Certainly familiar with Central Clay County and that part of the state, your impressions of maybe East Alabama football.
Hey, coming from, Birmingham metro area, I was at Shays Valley prior to, and got to East Alabama, and you find out real fast there's some quality football out there. We was 4A at the time, and there was some tough ball, we ran into the times where Hanley was really good and Leeds was really good, and actually state champion was coming out of our region just about every year. Clay Central is always a tough opponent. Actually played them 3 years in a row while I was at Munford, first game of the year, and it was always going to be a battle. Those kids play hard, and they're physical, they're fast, and they're disciplined. So East Alabama football is pretty good.
As fans tune in and they watch this 5A championship game between Pleasant Grove and Central Clay County, what can folks expect from your football team? What are some of the intangibles, maybe some of the trademarks, the hallmarks of the Pleasant Grove Spartans in 2019?
Definitely going to come out. We're going to play fast. We're going to be physical. Going to be disciplined. My biggest thing I try to preach to our guys is to make sure we respect the game of football. Make sure we carry ourselves, not only representing the name that's on the front of the jersey, but that's on the back also, and knowing and understand that this game of football is bigger than us. So we definitely going to come out and play hard.
Darryl LeBeau is the head coach of the Pleasant Grove Spartans, the South Alabama champions in 5A, headed to the Super 7, Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn against Central of Clay County. Coach, congratulations on the big win against Briarwood Christian in the semifinals. Best of luck in the Super 7 against Central of Clay County.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Darryl LeBeau, head coach of the Pleasant Grove Spartans, with us from the AHSAA offices here in Montgomery. We'll be back in just a moment.
Things feeling a little uneven at home? Ox Foundation Solutions will fix your uneven concrete sidewalk, driveway, or basement in no time. Locally owned and accredited, Ox Foundation Solutions will come up with the right fix for you. Get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
WOTM, your new home for high school sports in Alabama. WOTM has you covered with live coverage of all 7 championship games of the Super 7. WOTM is available to all TV providers in Alabama. If WOTM is not currently a part of your channel lineup, call your provider and request that they add WOTM. WOTM, your exclusive TV home for the AHSAA Super 7 basketball, baseball, and softball championships. All live only on WOTM.
I'll just be a minute.
What you just did with that clutch was so clutch. Just like when you ditched your old credit card and got the America's First credit card with a low interest rate and cash back on purchases.
Back at the AHSAA offices in Montgomery, we're hanging out with all the head coaches in Class 1A through 6A as we count down to the Super 7 championship games. The coaches meeting here in Montgomery. All the coaches are here, including the head coach of the Central Clay County Volunteers, Coach Danny Horn, bringing his team back to the Super 7 for the 2nd year in a row. They won it last year in an instant classic over Viger, 43-42. Now returning to try to do it again. Coach Horn, glad to have you with us here on the AHSAA Network on WOTM. And just first, let's go back to semifinals. Tremendous win on the road against Mortimer Jordan, the team that you're very familiar with. Right. Shut out 27-0 on Friday night.
Well, the first time we played them, they whipped us pretty good, and our boys was hyped up for that, and got a very good team, very well coached team, and we played well. I mean, we were able to run the ball, and we were able to stop them running, and it worked out great for us.
Last year you had a couple of losses, won the state championship. This year a couple of losses, you're back in the state championship game. So I think some folks around the state, you kind of fall off the radar. Do you like kind of being in that position a little bit? We're not sitting at the very top throughout the playoffs.
I'd rather win them, but our schedule was really, really difficult. Our region was really hard, and our non-region games were against really good teams. We played Benjamin Russell, played Jasper, we played Hanley, and those are 3 pretty good non-region games. Plus, you throw in our region games, and it's tough to go through the season undefeated playing that kind of schedule. And but we responded, and I think sometimes a loss does you good, and I think even you don't want to lose, but I think sometimes. Kind of like last year, I think it helped us to motivate ourselves to get a little bit better. And I think as the season went on, we have got better.
That middle part of the schedule, week 5, you play Jasper at home. The next week, Mortimer Jordan at home. This is remarkable to me. They score 35 and 34 points respectively. When you rematch with them a few weeks later, you go to their place and you hold Jasper to 7 and you shut out Mortimer Jordan. What was the big difference as far as defensively from that middle of the season to the end?
Well, I think the second time you play somebody, you got a better feel of what they're going to do, and of course they have the same feeling for you too. But we made a few personnel changes, and our running back, who's really a great running back, he has carried 25, 30 times a game, but we put him at outside linebacker, and I was a little nervous about him getting hurt, but he's done a really good job there. And we moved another person to a linebacker position, an inside linebacker. So I think we improved personnel-wise that area. But you know, it's just being familiar with them and kind of got an idea of what they're going to do, and it helps you to you know, prepare for that. But you know, those are two very good offenses. You know, last night Mormon Jordan's quarterback was hurt, and that kind of limited him what he could do, and that helped us a lot because he's a really good player, and that helped us in that aspect. But you know, overall, I thought those two performances in the playoffs really for our defense gave us a lot of confidence, and hopefully we can carry it one more game.
On the other side of the football, speaking of quarterbacks, how beneficial has it been to have Boyd Ogles, who was the starting quarterback last year, led you to that state championship, to have him back? And he's been through all this before. He's been through this playoff run. He's been under the lights in a huge moment at Jordan-Hare Stadium in the Super 7. How beneficial has it been to have him back again this season?
Well, Boyd, he came in at the middle of last year. He was our H-back, and we was having a little problems there at quarterback, and he'd played it in his junior high years. But he was a very good H-back, and but he's got a good arm, and Boyd is smart too, and it helps. Any coach can tell you, if you got your starting quarterback back, it's an advantage for the offense. I knew going into the season that from an offensive standpoint that you know, we was going to be pretty good offensively. We had Boyd back, you know, we had Quentin Knight, our running back, and had 2 or 3 offensive linemen back. So, and I had a receiver back, Javon Wood. So I felt pretty good offensively. You know, defensively, we lost a lot of really good players there. So, but you know, Boyd's smart. He takes care of the ball. You know, he can read defenses well, and good thing about Boyd is he got another year.
Coach, finally, let's talk about Pleasant Grove, your opponent. They're a lot like you in the fact that they came out of a very tough region as well, with Briarwood and with Ramsey. In the quarterfinals and semifinals, they matched up with teams from their region, just exactly the way you did. Tell us your thoughts on Pleasant Grove.
Well, honestly, I don't know a whole lot about them yet. We'll start studying them tonight and see. But from what I heard from other coaches, you know, very, very athletic, you know, great size and speed, and well coached, and you know, we're just, you know, we're fortunate to be here and blessed that we're here, and I really, you know, don't know a whole lot other than, you know, somebody told me that they was better than Viger, and I said if they are better than Viger, then they are really, really good, because last year Viger was really good, but we caught some breaks in that game, and that's I'm gonna say we probably need to, you know, force some turnovers and you know, hopefully get our running game going where we can, you know, milk the clock a little bit. But you know, we're excited to be here again. We kind of had the target on our back this year. I think last year we kind of slipped up on people, and I think this year the target's been on our back basically all year long, and the kids have really responded to it, and you know, we're all really excited to be back again.
One of the true legendary coaches in the history of high school football in the state of Alabama, Danny Horn, head coach of the Central Volunteers from Clay County, headed to the Super 7 one more time for the 5A state championship game against Pleasant Grove coming up on Thursday night at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Coach Horn, thank you for being with us here on the AHSAA preview show as we interview all the coaches around the state. A pleasure to have you with us.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll be back with more in just a moment.
It's time to get after it. So turn it on, crank it up, and let's get after it together. America's first small business services.
Hot under the collar because your basement is full of water? Call a local company you can trust. Ox Foundation Solutions. We use the most advanced water management system to stop water from invading your basement for good. Things feeling a little uneven at home? Ox Foundation Solutions will fix your uneven concrete sidewalk, driveway, or basement in no time. Ox Foundation Solutions has the best plan to keep your home safe. If you are experiencing any issues with your sidewalks, basement, crawl space, or foundation, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
I am a digital native. I was born 2 years after the first iPad was released.
What my parents found in encyclopedias, I can find online.
That makes learning different.
With this device, I can learn from friends across town or across the ocean.
With this device, I can change the world. I am a Red Devil.
I am prepared.
For college.
For a career.
For life.
We're back on AHSAA Weekly, and we're now joined by Central Phoenix City head coach Jamie DuBose. Coach DuBose, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Coach, you pull off a big win last night. You blank Auburn 38-0 in a rematch from your region in the 7A semifinals. Coach, can you just talk about how that game transpired and your defense's performance in performing and pulling off that shutout?
Well, our defense played outstanding last evening. We held them, I believe, to 70 yards of total offense and just set the tone early. They went for a 4th down midfield, and we was able to get them off the field and get a quick turnover and get the ball back. And then our offense went down and got 7 on the board. And we had talked to our guys about getting out to a fast start. And we knew Auburn really tried to control the clock and shorten the game a little bit. And you know, we're about tempo at our team on offense, and we like to get in the end zone, and we like to move fast. So we knew that our possessions may be limited a little bit. So we really challenged our defense all week to go out and 3-and-out them and get them off the field. And for the most part of the game, they did an outstanding job. You know, I thought we really controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, and just had a great night. In the second half, Tucker Melton really came out and threw the football well. Eddie Williams had 166 yards receiving, and you know, we just had a big night. Peter Jakes had 2 touchdown catches, and Mike Harris had an interception, and you know, our defense just held firm all night on both ends, the secondary and up front.
Well, you win 38-0 and you advance. Can you just talk about the feelings in the locker room knowing you're going back to the state title game, going to Jordan-Hare Stadium, what the emotions were like in the locker room?
Well, you know, it was a goal of ours at the beginning of the year, of course, to get back and get another shot at another state championship, just to have a chance. And, you know, we lost our first game of the year. And after that first game loss, I think it was an eye-opening thing for us. We had been, you know, 2 years without a loss in the regular season. And our guys were, you know, kind of needed to get hit in the face a little bit and be humbled out a little bit. And I think that's what happened. And our guys picked it up after that and continued to get better every week and continued to believe in the process. And, you know, they've gotten stronger as the year went on. This senior class lost as sophomores to McGill-Tulane in the semifinals, and then went undefeated last year, and then lost to Hoover the first game of the year. So they've only lost 2 games so far in their career, their 3-year career going on. So, you know, I think we've got some great leadership from our seniors, and just very, very excited last night in the locker room, and a lot of excitement after the game from the community.
And Coach, you talked about trying to shorten the game, but last night in the first quarter, 3 separate instances of replay was used. How do you keep your team focused when they're constantly having to come to the sideline and mentally refocus on the game when they can't get a rhythm, they can't get the game going?
Well, you know, that's part of the game, and I tell you, we really used our replay really well. It helped us in 2 of them where it got it overturned and went in our favor. But, you know, the first quarter was a long quarter, and we couldn't get into the flow a little bit. But, again, that was something we had to adapt to and the situation in front of us, because worked out well for us. Again, two of the overturns were in our favor. On a fumble, one, and on a marking of first down was the second one. So I think both of them, the officials did an outstanding job and just did a wonderful job using the replay. And I think that's why it's put in. You know, those are some errors sometimes that can be corrected. And last night, once they got the ability to go look at it, they saw it.
Well, you pull off the win and you advance, and now you've set up a rematch from last year's 7A state title game. it'll be you guys, Central Phoenix City against Thompson. Coach, what did you learn from last year's game, and what are you looking forward to in this game this year?
Well, you know, it's a new year, two different teams, different styles probably. Right now, I'm not really sure what Thompson does. Them being in the north and us in the south, we haven't run into them, and you know, I haven't even seen them on film. So I know they've got an explosive offense. I keep up and look at the scores throughout the year, and I know they play really sound defensively, and they've got good schemes. They got great coaches. I have the most respect for Coach Freeman and what he's accomplished everywhere he's been. He's an experienced state championship coach, so, you know, they're going to be ready to play. And I know, you know, after last year's game, you know, things went really well for us. And I know those kids that play for Thompson are really going to be excited to come and get some revenge. And, you know, we've just got to go out and we've got to play and, you know, try to make every play that's possible in front of us and eliminate as many mistakes as we can because, you know, again, this team that we're going to be playing is a team that's very explosive and very well coached.
Coach DuBose, we're looking forward to this game. You got a little extra time to prepare as this game won't take place until Wednesday, December the 4th. It's the first state title game of our Super 7. We'll be bringing it to you live on WOTM. But, Coach, thanks for your time, and we're looking forward to your game.
All right, thank you very much.
That was Coach Jamie DuBose of Central Phoenix City. We'll be back right after this.
Don't crack under the pressure of foundation issues. The certified specialists at Ox Foundation Solutions can permanently fix foundation problems at the best price guaranteed. And did you know, moisture and unsafe air from your crawl space can infiltrate your home, causing health hazards and high utility bills. Ox Foundation Solutions has the best plan to keep your home safe. If you are experiencing any issues with your sidewalks, basement, crawl space, or foundation, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
I'll just be a minute.
What you just did with that clutch was so clutch. Just like when you ditched your old credit card and got the America's First credit card with a low interest rate and cash back on purchases.
At Central High School, you have the opportunity to earn a high school and college diploma like these students who graduated and earned an associate's degree from CVCC. Central offers over 75 college credit hours and dual enrollment and advanced placement, where you earn high school and college credits simultaneously. Scholarship offers of $45 million and 92 student athletic scholarships over the last 3 years, with an Alabama graduation rate of 99%. With a premier academic environment and over 40 clubs and extracurricular organizations, there's something for everyone at Red Devil Nation.
Now on AHSAA Weekly, and we're now joined by head coach of the Thompson Warriors, Mark Freeman. Coach, how you doing this morning?
Man, I'm doing great, man. Blessed. How you doing?
I'm doing well, and Coach, I know you had a very exciting night last night, taking on Hoover in the 7A semifinals, and you pull off the win 35-21. Coach, can you just talk about how that game went for you?
I went great. We came out, we scored early, and they matched us up, and went back and forth first half, and I think ended up tied at halftime, and came out second half and turned the ball over to them a time or two down there. Or they held us once. We threw a pick, and defense made stops on both those drives, and I think that was probably a turning point of the game.
Coach, you had an interesting moment early in the fourth quarter where Hoover's driving, they catch a pass, they go into the end zone. It looks like he fumbles out the end zone for a touchback. That's how it's ruled initially, but after a review, they go back and they determine that it's a touchdown. Can you just talk about seeing the coach's challenge process, the replay process used effectively in a game, and what that was like?
Yeah, the replay system. I think we were one of the first schools initially to go into the getting the opportunity to use the replays and all. And I just think I think at the end of the day, it's a great tool for high school football, and I think it gives the referees kind of like an insurance policy in their pocket. They're making bam calls, and they want to get them right, and it's hard sometimes to do that. But having the system, we didn't win a challenge the whole year last year, and then I think last night's the first one that we've won this year. So, those things I think it's great for high school football, and I think that, at the end of the day, you just want the right call to be made, whether it hurts you, whether it helps you, or what it does, but at least you want the right call to be made, and I think it helps the officials be able to do that.
And Coach, you win 35-21, and now you advance to the 7A state title game, which will be Wednesday, December the 4th, live on WOTM. It'll be a rematch of last year's game between your Thompson team and Central Phoenix City. Coach, can you just talk about what you learned from last year's game and now going forward, what you've learned this season as you prepare for your game next Wednesday?
Well, you know, I think the year experience where you go and you get to see all the festivities and the event, and I think that the few that we've got, we don't have many that's back from that team, but the ones that were young was there. At least they got to go through it and experience it, and I think it gives you a chance to go there and experience that, and then we're going to play Central Phoenix City again, and you know, every year they're loaded with great athletes, and they do a great job coaching those athletes, and so, you know, you're going to play probably the best program in the state right now as far as momentum and history. So you're coming back and you're going to play the defending state champion again, and just look forward to it, man. We're very super blessed to be going back and look forward to going back and doing better this time.
Well, Coach, we're looking forward to that game as well. That'll be Thompson Warriors taking on the Central Phoenix City Red Devils in the 7A state title game Wednesday, December the 4th. Coach, we'll let you go. It was good talking to you.
Thank you, sir, very much.
That was head coach of the Thompson Warriors, Mark Freeman. We'll be back with more AHSAA Weekly after this.
It's time to get after it. So turn it on, crank it up, and let's get after it together. America's first small business services.
Hot under the collar because your basement is full of water? Call a local company you can trust. Ox Foundation Solutions. We use the most advanced water management system to stop water from invading your basement for good. Things feeling a little uneven at home? Ox Foundation Solutions will fix your uneven concrete sidewalk, driveway, or basement in no time. Ox Foundation Solutions has the best plan to keep your home safe. If you are experiencing any issues with your sidewalks, basement, crawl space, or foundation, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
WOTM, your new home for high school sports in Alabama. WOTM has you covered with live coverage of all 7 championship games of the Super 7. WOTM is available to all TV providers in Alabama. If WOTM is not currently a part of your channel lineup, call your provider and request that they add WOTM. WOTM, your exclusive TV home for the AHSAA Super 7 basketball, baseball, and softball championships. All live only on WOTM.
Back in Montgomery, we are now counting down to the Alabama High School Athletic Association Super 7 State Championships, Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn. The 6A game will be the last game of the Super 7, as it always is traditionally, on Friday night at 7 p.m. The North Alabama champion out of Class 6A is the Oxford High School Yellow Jackets. Head coach of the Yellow Jackets, Keith Etheridge, joins us here. And Coach Etheridge, glad to have you with us. Congratulations on a huge win in the semifinals against Pinson Valley.
Yeah, kids played great last night. You know, made some huge plays when we had to. You know, couldn't be prouder of them and my coaching staff and the people of Oxford. They really showed out last night, and you know, it was a packed house.
They say it's tough to beat a team twice. Pinson Valley, 2-time defending state champions. Great football team again this year. You went to their place and won by a point, and everybody says, well, it's tough to beat them twice. Had them at Lamar Field in Oxford. 31-28, you win the game, and so you did beat Pinson Valley twice, and that is on the face of it even, that is just a huge accomplishment.
Yes, absolutely. You know, Coach Nix does a fantastic job. We got so much respect for them. I got a couple real good friends that coach on that staff. One of my best friends in the world is the principal there, so Mike Turner. And, you know, we just have so much respect for them. They got so many great athletes, McKinney, you know, all those kids are unbelievable athletes, and for us to beat them twice is a huge accomplishment for our kids.
You wouldn't think when the team's 13-1 and they win the North and they're headed to Jordan-Hare Stadium, the Super 7, that you would use the word resiliency a lot with a team that's 13-1. But your young people have been very resilient. You've had some challenges this season.
Yes, sir. You know, we've lost guys to injury and got them back when, you know, mid-playoffs, and, you know, our guys have fought and scrapped for everything they've gotten. You know, our region is brutal. You know, and any given night you go out there and you don't play well, you're going to get beat in our region. You know, we've got some great teams in there, and I think it prepared us for the playoffs. You know, playing in that region prepared us for the playoffs. So, you know, couldn't be happier to be here.
You are in your first season at Oxford, but obviously you've been down all this Super 7 stuff before, 4 state championships at Leeds, a runner-up finish. So, I mean, this is your 6th Super 7 championship. What do you glean from all of those years of playing in this environment? You've been at Bryant-Denny, you've been at Jordan-Hare and all those places. Tell us what you bring to the table from all of those years of Super 7 experience.
I just think that you don't make it too big. You know, you let the kids take it all in, enjoy it, but understand that they're there for a reason. You know, to play a state championship football game. You're doing it to make memories that's going to last you for the rest of your life, and you got to live in that moment. You can't, like I said, you can't make it too big. It's got to be the next football game. It's going to be on a big stage, and you know, you just can't make it a huge deal. You just got to go out there and play football.
Well, the folks, the young people, they look to their coach anyway. But I think even more so they're going to be looking to you because Oxford, with the success they've had, you look at all the teams in the Super 7. No one has had more playoff appearances than Oxford. Oxford's won 3 state championships, but it's been 26 years since they've been to a state championship game. Thus, they've never been to the Super 6, Super 7 format. You have, the folks from Oxford, even though they have tremendous tradition, they've never been there. So as they look to you, what are you going to be telling all the Oxford folks this week about this experience?
Just enjoy it. You know, we're going to bring a huge crowd down there, and you know, I just want the school system, the city, the kids that are playing, the band, the cheerleaders. I want them to soak up the experience because it's something they'll remember for the rest of their life. You know, and that's what it's all about. It's about the kids and them enjoying themselves. And you know, I'm just proud that we're able to do it. I'm proud that you know the city gets to experience it. I'm proud for these kids. You know, there's no feeling like turning around and handing that blue mat to the kids.
What's it like, Coach, coming in your first year to Oxford? And in the first year, going to the Super 7. Tell us about that.
It's amazing. It's amazing. You know, these kids have really responded. You know, they've bought into everything we're teaching them. You know, they have worked tremendously hard in the weight room, on the practice field. You know, and it's been a Cinderella type year. You know, and like you said, we've had our bumps and our bruises. We've missed key guys, and you know the guys have stepped up in places where you know we're missing a guy. Another guy stepped in there and done a great job, and you know just kept it rolling. And you know they've overcome a lot of adversity this year, and I'm very, very proud of them.
Watching your football team play offense, defense, equally good. You've got a lot of weapons on offense with J.B. Carlisle at running back, Trey Higgins at quarterback, Rock Taylor out at wide receiver. But on defense, you know, you got that J. Rock Swain on the defensive line. You got those Fagans guys in the secondary. I mean, you're good on both sides of the football.
Right. You Christian Booth, Octavius Adair, you can go on and on about the guys on the defensive side of the ball. You know, and they balance each other out. You know, if our offense isn't playing that well, don't be surprised to see a defensive touchdown. You know, well, I think we got our 10th defensive touchdown last night of the year, so that's amazing to me. And offensively, you know, if they're putting points up, we got to score. You know, our offense puts the ball in the end zone. You know, the kids just seem to be making plays. I think they're just believing, and they're just, you know, they refuse to lose.
Oxford Yellow Jackets, first time ever, headed to the Super 7 Championships at Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn to take on the Spanish Fort Toros Friday night at 7 p.m. Keith Etheridge, head coach of the Oxford Yellow Jackets, our guest, and we'll be back with more on WOTM.
Things feeling a little uneven at home? Ox Foundation Solutions will fix your uneven concrete sidewalk, driveway, or basement in no time. Locally owned and accredited, Ox Foundation Solutions will come up with the right fix for you. Get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
WOTM, your new home for high school sports in Alabama. WOTM has you covered with live coverage of all 7 championship games of the Super 7. WOTM is available to all TV providers in Alabama. If WOTM is not currently a part of your channel lineup, call your provider and request that they add WOTM. WOTM, your exclusive TV home for the AHSAA Super 7 basketball, baseball, and softball championships. All live only on WOTM.
I'll just be a minute.
What you just did with that clutch was so clutch. Just like when you ditched your old credit card and got the America's First credit card with a low interest rate and cash back on purchases.
We're back on WOTM as we preview the Super 7 championships. We've got every coach in classes 1A through 6A coming up here today in Montgomery at the Alabama High School Athletic Association offices. And we're going to jump to Class 6A now. Your 6A South Alabama champion headed to the Super 7, the Spanish Fort Toros down in Baldwin County. Coach Ben Blackman is the head coach of the Toros. And Coach, congratulations. Huge win last night against Opelika. You had a big Friday night win against the Bulldogs, 27-24. You are, we're going to talk in depth about this, but right now you got to be one of the hottest teams in the state of Alabama. Huge win last night.
Yeah, I'm really proud of our kids and our community and coaching staff and just everybody in our program has really just kind of turned the corner the last few weeks. Our kids are just buying in and they're playing hard and they're doing what we're asking them to do, and it's really fun to watch them play.
Being at Opelika and then playing Opelika, what was that like?
Well, that's where I started. I started for Spence McCracken there, coaching there in 2001 and spent, 6.5 years there and then moved on into the head coaching ranks and have made my way to Baldwin County. And so, that's the third time we've played Opelika. This time my brother wasn't on the sideline, so it was a little easier for me, but I still got a lot of love for those guys over there at Opelika, and several of them were on the staff when I was there. And so Opelika is a great place. It's a great city, great school system, and a lot of respect for them.
Coach Blackman, every year at the beginning of the playoffs, that first week in November, there's always, I think every year there's this one team that kind of comes out of nowhere. No one's picking them high. They maybe don't have the most glowing record out there, and they wind up being in the state championship game. And this year, that team, no question, is your team. 5-4 at the end of the regular season, obviously playing in a tough region. But none of that matters. What matters is what happens in November and the first week in December, and here you are.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we challenged our kids with was, the playoffs. We told them in the beginning, when you get in, everybody's 0-0, and they don't care. The playoffs doesn't care how you get in. It's how you do each week, and take it 1 week at a time. And that's kind of the mentality we've kind of approached it with, and to go on the road and win in the first round against a Dothan High team in overtime, and just to feel like that breath of fresh air of your program's coming back, and then to go to Wetumpka and play really, really well in the rain, and then to beat a really tough Surgeon Park Crossing team at home, and then last night against Opelika, who was, Opelika's Opelika. They're really good, and our kids are just, they're just battling hard and finding a way to win, and that's what I'm proud of them.
Take us through the school, the community, your coaching staff, the players. This has been a wild and crazy month these last 4 weeks. Take us through that journey.
Yeah, it's just been, we didn't have a great regular season. We struggled in and out of region games. I do think we play in a tough region, and it's a 9-team region, and we get down to the final game of the year, and we got to win to get in or have a Daphne loss, and we lose by 1 point to Saraland, and then we turn on the TV and Blunt beats Daphne, and so we get in, and that's kind of, that game right there versus Saraland gave our kids a ton of confidence heading into the playoffs, and then just to go, like I said, go on the road and beat a tough team in Dothan, and Coach Grider and them, and then go to Wetumpka and beat Wetumpka, who's put us out the last 2 years. It's just, been a real good journey for our school and our community. Our kids are resilient. Our kids believe they can win every game, and when you got that mentality and that attitude and you go on the field, you have a chance.
You mentioned 6A Region 1, not only very unique in playing a 9-game region, but there are good football teams in that region, and obviously, as we sit here this morning, that prepared you very well for this playoff run.
Well, I think our schedule, definitely has prepared us. We've played some tough teams, and, they're great football teams down there in Mobile, Baldwin County, and then you throw in the fact that we opened the season with McGill-Tulane. We lost 2 starting linebackers and our starting center in that same game, and it kind of sent us in a tailspin the first couple of weeks, but we bounced back, and our kids are, we're young, but our kids are playing hard.
Now you come to Jordan-Hare Stadium, a place that's not unfamiliar to Spanish Fort fans. They've been there before. Oxford Yellow Jackets coming in. Tell us your thoughts on Coach Keith Etheridge and the Oxford Yellow Jackets.
You want me to give you my personal opinion on Keith Etheridge? He's a fine man. I'll tell you that. He's one of my good friends in this profession. He does it the right way. He loves his kids. He gets them to play hard. Just a phenomenal person off the field and phenomenal coach, and he's had success his whole career. I remember the first time I met Keith, I was at Greenville, my first year in the playoffs at Greenville, and we were playing Moody High School, and he was at Leeds, and I called him out of the blue, and I said, hey, I'm coming to your game. Do you mind if I come and watch? And he opened his arms up for me and said, yeah, come on. And from that point on to coaching in the Alabama-Mississippi game with him, the last time Alabama won, I know he's a high character guy. I know he's a great football coach, and I got a lot of respect for Keith Etheridge.
This will be the last, there's 7 games, obviously, the Super 7. The 6A championship game is the last of those. Do you kind of get antsy watching all these other teams play starting Wednesday night all the way through the day Thursday, during the day Friday, watching all these folks in these state championships games and kind of that waiting to get to your moment?
Well, I mean, there'll be some anticipation and there's some anxiety that'll lead up to it. I don't know how much I'll be able to watch of all the other games, focusing on our game plan and getting our kids ready. But this is just a great accomplishment for both teams and for our kids to be able to be where we're at, sitting right here in December.
Absolutely. Spanish Fort Toros, one of the great stories in high school football in 2019 in the state of Alabama. Ben Blackman is the head coach of the Toros, headed to the state championship game in Class 6A at Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn on Friday night against the Oxford Yellow Jackets. Coach Blackman, thank you so much for being with us here on WOTM. We'll be back with more as we continue with coaches' interviews from Montgomery.
It's time to get after it. So turn it on, crank it up, and let's get after it together. America's first small business services.
Hot under the collar because your basement is full of water? Call a local company you can trust. Ox Foundation Solutions. We use the most advanced water management system to stop water from invading your basement for good. Things feeling a little uneven at home? Ox Foundation Solutions will fix your uneven concrete sidewalk, driveway, or basement in no time. Ox Foundation Solutions has the best plan to keep your home safe. If you are experiencing any issues with your sidewalks, basement, crawl space, or foundation, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
WOTM, your new home for high school sports in Alabama. WOTM has you covered with live coverage of all 7 championship games of the Super 7. WOTM is available to all TV providers in Alabama. If WOTM is not currently a part of your channel lineup, call your provider and request that they add WOTM. WOTM, your exclusive TV home for the AHSAA Super 7 basketball, baseball, and softball championships. All live only on WOTM.
We continue now here on WOTM as we are interviewing all of our Super 7 state championship coaches as we're getting ready for the Alabama High School Athletic Association Super 7 championships coming up at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Right now we've got the North Alabama champion again in Class 2A, the head coach of the Fife Red Devils, Coach Paul Benefield. Coach, glad to have you with us here on the program once again. Congratulations on going back to Jordan-Hare Stadium, going back to the Super 7 championships.
Well, thank you. We're glad to be here. It's a long journey sometimes, but you just try to make it through another week, and our kids have been able to do that.
One of the big themes this year in high school football, especially with the playoffs, has been rematches. In every classification, we've had rematches, tons of those. I can't remember another year. You were involved in a couple of those rematches, specifically in the semifinals, a rematch with Collinsville. You win 21-0 against really one of the best Collinsville teams that they've ever had. Tell us about that semifinal round win.
Well, it was a tough game, even closer than the score. We scored early in the fourth quarter to get that lead, but it's 14-0 at half, and but it's just always they're a dangerous team, and anytime they throw it, it could be touchdown, and the whole game was just you're on just hoping that you can make a play to stop them. So they converted a lot of third downs, but they had a really good team and a great season.
everybody around the state is always kind of intrigued by Fife and the offense you run because it's unique, especially in this day and time. But the story this year, I think, Coach, has been your defense. Your defense has been outstanding, probably as good of a defense, maybe the best defense in the state in any classification when you look at stats. And I know that's been a hallmark in the past as well, but the Fife offense sometimes gets so much publicity. But this year, the defense has just been unbelievable. Tell us about that defense you have.
It has been really good. Our offense is antique offense, as they call it, so our throwback. But our defense has really been consistent, and I had a couple kids that's come through for us and that we really didn't know about, and you know, we had a good nucleus coming back from last year as far as defensive starters, but you know, our ones that stepped in have really done a great job.
Even at the 2A level in high school football, offenses are wide open, powerhouse, high-powered, as we're seeing throughout all levels of football. So to have as many shutouts as you've had this year and to just totally shut teams down, what's been the key? What makes your defense so good to have the ability to do that?
Well, I think you know, they pay attention to details that differ probably than some other teams that we've had, but they really watch a lot of film, and kids try to prepare, you know, and what the other team's doing, and been real mature about that and watching film, and they just pay close attention to all details that we try to give to them. But you know, and the kids are this group is just a good physical group of kids, and they're tough guys.
Now let's switch back over to offense. People want to know about that antique offense. I'll let you kind of give folks out there who the uninitiated to the Fife offense. Tell folks just without giving away all your trade secrets there. There's not a lot of secrets, but just describe the offense that you run at Fife.
It's just I call it the ugly offense. You know, it's not very pretty to look at sometimes, but we basically just we're gonna run the ball and try to get a lot of pullers and a lot of double teams, and you know, we feel like if we can stay in the game, it wears you down a little bit sometimes if you're not used to it, and you know, that's about it. Nothing. We'll go around the end, up the middle, and off tackle.
It's pretty simple.
About all you can do in most times.
Simple but effective. Coach, let's talk about the program at Fife, the big picture thing, because you have been your entire career at Fife very, very successful, the highest levels of Class 2A football. Tell us about the program that's in place there. What makes it, they say tradition never graduates. It's kind of a cliche saying, but that's really true at Fife. What makes the program so good at Fife?
Well, I just think the foundation of it's going to be your weight room, and your making kids responsible for being there and commit to something. You know, we don't take a lot of excuses, and I think that's the key to any program is you know, kids believing in what they do and go in and try to do something every day to make yourself better. So you know, it's not complicated either, but we work, you know, pretty much all the time doing something.
You know, you have a tradition-rich program. Your opponent that you'll play at Jordan-Hare Stadium, Reeltown, the Rebels, tradition-rich program. You've won 3 state championships apiece. They've been there. They know what it's about. The expectations are high at Reeltown, always. Sure. Expectations are off the chart at Fife, as always. Tell us about playing a team that, in a lot of ways, tradition-wise, is similar to Fife.
That's right. They're great tradition and do a great job. Coach Johnson does, and you know, everything at this point in time, you know, this part of the year, they're going to be great teams, and you know, we have winners on both sides, and probably going to come down to who makes the most mistakes or field position, stuff like that. Just things that win every game, blocking and tackling. But you know, you just never know when you get in the big show down there what might happen. I have kids looking at the Jumbotron instead of playing football.
Is it helpful? Speaking of the Jumbotron, your guys have been there. They were there last year. Most of these guys have seen that. Is it helpful that you've gone through this routine, and the kids and the coaching staff and even your fans, they kind of know what to expect?
You'd hope it is. You know, whether it is or not, you don't know. But of course, we also have kids that didn't start last year or play, so we'll see how that affects them. But you know, you just never know in a game like this what could happen and how you kids will respond to that big stadium.
Well, when you start talking about one of the ultra-successful programs and one of the ultra-successful coaches in all of high school football in the state of Alabama, you're talking about the Fife Red Devils in Class 2A, the North Alabama champions, headed to Jordan-Hare Stadium once again to take on the Reeltown Rebels in the 2A championship game on Friday afternoon. Coach Paul Benefield, thank you so much for being with us.
Appreciate you having me.
Coach Paul Benefield of the Fife Red Devils. More when we come back here on WOTM.
Things feeling a little uneven at home? Ox Foundation Solutions will fix your uneven concrete sidewalk, driveway, or basement in no time. Locally owned and accredited, Ox Foundation Solutions will come up with the right fix for you. Get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
WOTM, your new home for high school sports in Alabama. WOTM has you covered with live coverage of all 7 championship games of the Super 7. WOTM is available to all TV providers in Alabama. If WOTM is not currently a part of your channel lineup, call your provider and request that they add WOTM. WOTM, your exclusive TV home for the AHSAA Super 7 basketball, baseball, and softball championships. All live only on WOTM.
I'll just be a minute.
What you just did with that clutch was so clutch. Just like when you ditched your old credit card and got the America's First credit card with a low interest rate and cash back on purchases.
We continue talking with all of the coaches that are headed to Auburn for the Super 7 championships with the Alabama High School Athletic Association. All 7 classifications crowning the football champions Wednesday night through Friday at Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn. One of the teams that will be there in Class 1A, the Class 1A South Alabama champions, the Lynette High School Panthers. Coach Clifford Story joins us. Coach, congratulations to your team and coming back to the Super 7. And a great win on Friday night. You were on the road in the semifinals in that South Alabama championship game, and we were talking. You got a shootout at Sweetwater, won the game 42-35. Tell us about that semifinal win.
Well, it was a great win. I mean, it was back and forth all night. They got a really, really good football team. They're physical. They run the ball well. You know, we had trouble with traction, but we was able to throw the ball a little bit, and we got right there toward the end. We had enough time, and I had a timeout left to go, and we had enough time, and they tried an onside kick, and we got it about the 50, and so that really played in our favor. And so we was able to, you know, get a deep ball right there around about 38 seconds left to go and, you know, and punch the ticket. But overall, it was a great game. It was back and forth, 2 well-coached team who was, you know, both from scratch, fought and clawed all night, and, you know, the good Lord shined on us, and we was able to get the victory.
You dropped down from 2A to 1A in the last reclassification cycle. You won the 2A championship a couple years ago in Tuscaloosa at Bryant-Denny Stadium, dropping down to Class 1A. And this year you're going to be back in the 1A championship game, as we mentioned, taking on Mars Hill Bible, the defending state champion in Class 1A. I know the last time you had to go across the state to play in Tuscaloosa.
Right.
This time, 25 miles down to I-85 to
Right.
play. Really almost like a home game. How big is that to be able to play kind of in your backyard?
Well, it's going to be really, really big because it'll be a chance to people in our community to be able to make that short drive down to Auburn. You know, they shop there often anyway. You know, I think we're going to have a really, really good crowd, and, you know, to be able to not to have that jet lag from a long travel, even though you get hotel stay. But, you know, to drive right down the road is really going to be big for our kids. They get a chance to play in a big stadium. A lot of them are Auburn fans. So, you know, it's going to be exciting, and, you know, we look forward to the challenge.
That drop from 2A to 1A, you found out that Class 1A South, there's some really good football teams there. Found that out again this year. We mentioned the game with Sweetwater. You had some challenge this year, that quarterfinal round game. The field became so bad at Morgan Washburn Stadium, you had to move down to the Valley Sportsplex and play down there. Valley did a great job in hosting you guys in the quarterfinal round play. But you've had some little challenges here in the playoffs along the way.
Well, you know, it's going to be that way because, like I told the kids, after everything filled out, there's no more cupcake games, there's no more easy games. It's going to be a dogfight week in and week out. So we got to make sure we disciplined and we locked in and we focus on the game plan that we put in. But you know, we had to move the Isabella game down to Valley. Our field wasn't playable, And I take my hat off to their administration, their athletic director and superintendent for allowing us to use it, and we was able to come out with that victory.
Coach, you got a great quarterback. We mentioned this back on our bracket reveal show that we had at the beginning of the playoffs. Clifford Story, Christian Story, your son is the quarterback, and he has now, record-wise and otherwise, kind of etched his name in there as being one of the all-time great quarterbacks in the history of high school football in the state of Alabama. As a coach, but also as a dad, tell us about this guy.
Wow. I mean, ever since he was a little boy, I tell people all the time, he always loved football. When he was a little boy, I had to put ice in his bottle so his milk wouldn't spoil so he can go to practice. Every time I went out that door, he wanted to go with me, and I would have to take him. When I would watch film, he would sit in my lap and ask me 6 million questions. But I didn't know that all of this stuff was going to soak in. He was going to have an opportunity, to be this way. But he worked extremely hard. He done everything we asked him to do. And I always tell him, just give me all you got. I said, don't never take plays off and don't never take anything for granted. And that's what he's been able to do. He's a humble kid. He worked extremely hard. He's smart, and good Lord have shined on him for talent-wise. But I knew when he was young that he was very competitive. Racing older kids, he would lose, he would cry. So I just knew that he would be special, and he have shown that he is special. And just over his career, I really didn't know his numbers was adding up the way they were. I just would send them in, and then I started getting calls, and Ron Ingram sent me some information about it, and AL.com also. So that's when we started looking at it a little bit more then.
You won the 2A the year before last. Mars Hill Bible out of Florence, your opponent in the 1A championship game this year. They won the 1A last year, and now you're playing each other. Tell us about Mars Hill.
Wow. I haven't really had a chance to see him on film, but I've heard nothing but great things about him. Said their offensive line is going to be filthy and salty. They're going to be well coached. They're going to be disciplined. They got 3-4 really, really good backs that runs the ball. It's going to be a challenge for us on defense. They're going to be where they're supposed to be. You're not going to hardly catch them out of position. So, we're going to have our work cut out, but, I always tell people all the time, you can't win if you're not in it. So we want to have a chance to be the best. You got to beat the best. They defending state champ. They won 28, 29 in a row. So, it's going to be a challenge, but we will be up for it.
Hey, if you don't think Class 1A football is really very good, be at that 1A championship game, the Lynette Panthers and the Mars Hill Bible Panthers, the Battle of Panthers at Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn. It will be a phenomenal matchup. Coach Clifford Story, the Lynette Panthers head coach, our guest, and we wish you the best of luck in Jordan-Hare against Mars Hill in that 1A title game.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We'll be back in just a moment on WOTM.
It's time to get after it. So turn it on, crank it up, and let's get after it together. America's first small business services.
Hot under the collar because your basement is full of water? Call a local company you can trust. Ox Foundation Solutions. We use the most advanced water management system to stop water from invading your basement for good. Things feeling a little uneven at home? Ox Foundation Solutions will fix your uneven concrete sidewalk, driveway, or basement in no time. Ox Foundation Solutions has the best plan to keep your home safe. If you are experiencing any issues with your sidewalks, basement, crawl space, or foundation, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
WOTM, your new home for high school sports in Alabama. WOTM has you covered with live coverage of all 7 championship games of the Super 7. WOTM is available to all TV providers in Alabama. If WOTM is not currently a part of your channel lineup, call your provider and request that they add WOTM. WOTM, your exclusive TV home for the AHSAA Super 7 basketball, baseball, and softball championships. All live only on WOTM.
We continue now at the Alabama High School Athletic Association offices on the east side of Montgomery, and we are with all the coaches that are headed to the Super 7 at Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn. We've got every one of those here today, and we are very pleased to have at this time the head coach, the UMS Wright Prep Bulldogs, Coach Terry Curtis with us. 4A championship game. They're the 4A South Alabama champions again, going for their 3rd consecutive Class 4A state championship, coming up against the Jacksonville Golden Eagles. Coach Curtis, welcome in. Glad to have you with us.
Thanks, John. Glad to be here. It's always good. It's something you don't take for granted, and it's always exciting to to be in Auburn or Alabama, but even more so in Auburn.
Coach, in the semifinals, you met a familiar opponent, Andalusia, had another great ball game with them. You win the game 21-14. Tell us about that semifinal win.
Wow, it was, you know, you look back on it and you try to figure out how you won. You know, they were big, they were strong, they were well coached, and like always, our games with Andalusia, we found a way to make a couple plays late in the game, and they had us 14-0. We scored right before the half, which I thought was really big, and just kept kind of hanging around and found a way to get 2 more. So very proud of the kids. They didn't quit, which I knew they wouldn't, but we figured out a way to make a couple plays and made a couple more than they did. But you know, Andalusia's a very, very worthy opponent.
Coach, you mentioned that it never gets old, and you've been, as you said, Tuscaloosa and Birmingham and in Auburn. You've been in all 3 places. Just that experience. Nobody has more experience than you do at Super 7 and not getting old. Just folks out there who've never maybe experienced that from a coaching aspect, what is that like to carry your team into the venues that we have here in the state of Alabama and to these kinds of events that we have here with Alabama High School Athletic Association?
Well, it's unbelievable. The job that the volunteers in Birmingham did back in the day, and now been going back and forth between Auburn and Alabama, and the team host and how they take care of you, and the mayors and everybody, the whole city just embraces the game and makes it a big deal. I mean, I know Auburn, Alabama are playing this week, and Super 7's a lot like that as far as your community and everybody going and everybody having a big time. And you know, that's my one hope, John, is you were talking about other coaches, that before people retire, whatever, that every coach could experience this. And I know that's probably not possible or whatever, because it's just such an unbelievable experience that you just wish all coaches could experience it.
I know in the past you've played some familiar teams over there, even though they've been in the north half of the state. People like Deschler last year, Fayette County, traditional powers, that have been there like your team has before. This year, you're going up against one of those new coaches who's never been here, a school that's never played for a state championship before in the Jacksonville Golden Eagles. So a new team that UMS has never played before. Tell us about
Isn't that
playing
great? That's got to be exciting for them, and proud for Clint and those guys. I do know Coach Smith and all, and they, you know, I hear they got an outstanding running back. You know, I don't know a whole lot about them at this point in time. Will by the time the weekend is over and all, but that's what we were talking about earlier. What a great experience they're gonna. I mean, it's gonna be unbelievable for those guys, and I'm sure they're gonna be more than a worthy opponent, and we'll have our hands full.
You won back-to-back state championships, going for your 3rd state championship in a row. A lot of the same guys that were contributors to that, especially we talk about outstanding running backs. I know people in Mobile are talking about, well, Simon Smith, he must have been playing at UMS for about 9 or 10 years. It seems like he played in the snow against Fayette County. He played last year against Deschler, had an outstanding game. A little injuries there, but he has been such a key to your program the last 3 years.
Well, he has. He's just a great kid. He's small in stature, but yet he plays big heart, good moves, good vision, does all the things you want to do, does everything right, and just a pleasure to coach. And yeah, you're right. I'm glad he's on our team, and I wish he had a couple more years.
Folks around the state, it doesn't matter if they're in North Alabama, South Alabama, East, West, they know about UMS Wright Prep football, and they're envious, I think, of the program, the success you've had, because you've got a great program. I think a lot of folks want to emulate. They want to be like UMS Wright. Those folks out there who want to be like UMS and get to where you've been, what advice do you have? What are the keys to the program that you've built there in Mobile?
Well, you're not going to fool kids. And I think that's first and foremost. Whatever you're going to do, as long as they know you're going to be honest and you're going to be fair, they're going to give you everything they got. Excuse me. And that has not changed. And I think that's the first and foremost as far as a coach and building a culture and all. You can work them as hard as you want to work them, as long as they know you got their best interest.
Back-to-back 4A titles. What's different about this team? Every team's different. We understand that. That team in 17 is different from 18. 18 is different than 19. So folks out there who's going to watch the game between Jacksonville and UMS Wright Prep, what are they going to see that's maybe different about this year's team?
Well, really not a whole lot. Our schemes are all the same. Probably the only thing different is, we have a new quarterback. This makes the 3rd year, which is very unusual, the 3rd year in a row that we've gotten this far, and we've had a new quarterback each and every year. And so he's been in a stage of development. We didn't put a whole lot on him early, but as the season has gone on, and last night he had a big game for us and helped us win the football game. So other than the quarterback and all, our schemes will be pretty much the same. Our linebacker, Will Breland, is back, and he's an outstanding player. And those kids are just going to play hard, and they're not going to scare anybody getting off the bus, but they're going to be usually where they need to be and where they need to be.
Coach, it's always a lot of fun to watch your football team. Always very well prepared, very fundamentally sound, just a great football team and program that you built there on the west side of Mobile at UMS Wright Prep. Congratulations on making it back to the Super 7. Best of luck to your team against Jacksonville.
Thanks, John. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Terry Curtis, legendary coach of the UMS Wright Prep Bulldogs, getting ready for the 4A championship game against the Jacksonville Golden Eagles. We'll be back in just a moment.
Things feeling a little uneven at home? Ox Foundation Solutions will fix your uneven concrete sidewalk, driveway, or basement in no time. Locally owned and accredited, Ox Foundation Solutions will come up with the right fix for you. Get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
WOTM, your new home for high school sports in Alabama. WOTM has you covered with live coverage of all 7 championship games of the Super 7. WOTM is available to all TV providers in Alabama. If WOTM is not currently a part of your channel lineup, call your provider and request that they add WOTM. WOTM, your exclusive TV home for the AHSAA Super 7 basketball, baseball, and softball championships. All live only on WOTM.
I'll just be a minute.
What you just did with that clutch was so clutch. Just like when you ditched your old credit card and got the America's First credit card with a low interest rate and cash back on purchases.
We are back in Montgomery at the Alabama High School Athletic Association. John Holder in with you, and we are again previewing the Super 7 coming up. We're talking with all of the head coaches of all the teams that will be in the Super 7 championships at Jordan-Hare Stadium coming up in Auburn, and we're joined now by the 2A South Alabama champions, Coach Matt Johnson, the Reeltown Rebels coach. Glad to have you with us here on the program. There are a lot of exciting games in the semifinals. Maybe of all the semifinal games, the game that you had with Leroy on Friday night was the most exciting, winning that game 29-28 in overtime. Tell us about that exciting game.
Yeah, it was a big swing game, for sure. And our guys kept fighting, and Leroy's got an unbelievable offense, and we had trouble stopping actually throughout the game. It was just kind of limiting them a little bit. So guys fought back. We were able to tie the game up and held them out of the end zone right there on their last drive in regulation. Got to overtime, they got the ball, and we're just kind of seeing how that first possession would go. And they controlled the line of scrimmage, their offensive line. And so the way they scored in 2 plays, we knew, we'd already talked about it on the headsets. I talked with the assistant coaches when we get the ball back, if we score, have a play ready, to go for 2. So we knew we had trouble stopping them from the 10-yard line, and I felt like they had trouble stopping us too. So we went ahead and made the decision once we had that little bit of momentum to go ahead and go for 2. Had a little play-action pass, roll out, and I think we came about a couple of feet short of the goal line, but there was a penalty on the play. We got to line it up and redo it, and we scored on the next play to win the game.
Absolutely. There's been a lot of great moments in Reeltown history, but that'll be one of those legendary plays in Reeltown history. I'm sure pandemonium last night up at Reeltown.
Oh, yeah, it was awesome atmosphere from both sides. Leroy brought a huge crowd, and it was just awesome atmosphere.
Going to the state championship game now, taking on your team. Reeltown takes a backseat to no 1 and 2A football as far as tradition goes. You've been a part of that, playing there through the years. You just have been a part of that, ingrained in that all of your life, and of course continuing that tradition, playing another program in Fife that also has a lot of great tradition in 2A football. Just tell us about your thoughts on Fife and that matchup.
Well, Coach Benefield's done absolutely just fantastic job. You know, you use the word machine all the time, and he really has created a machine up there. And he gets a lot of credit for the offensive side of the football because they put up just massive numbers. But defensively, what they continue to do year in, year out is just, in this day and age where football is impressive on the numbers that they have defensively. Hadn't had a chance to study them a whole lot at this point, but just going off the numbers and seeing a few clips here and there, they've got an exceptional football team that's very well disciplined. Similar to us, they're a lot of smash mouth, very physical up front on both sides. So looking forward to a great game.
I look forward to seeing a real town in Fife, not only because of the tradition, but because of what you just talked about, smash mouth, good old-fashioned football. We'll see a lot of that at Jordan-Hare Stadium. You grew up on that. You also grew up not far from where this game is going to be played. Tell us about being kind of at home, only 10 or 15 miles up the road to go play the state championship game.
Well, yeah, anytime you don't have to travel, hours to get there, that's great. But, it's going to be a huge deal for our kids, and we're going to make it as special as possible for them, of course, keeping the game in mind. But being right there in our backyard is going to be massive for our fans. Feel like we can get a lot more people to the game. And, of course, Real Town's going to travel regardless. We have a special community that's, like you said, long story tradition, dating way back when. So it's exciting times right now to be back where we're supposed to be, where we feel like we need to be. So feel like it'll be a huge gate and huge game and awesome atmosphere.
You've got one of the special players in small school football in this state. Not many guys at the 2A level get a chance to play in the SEC. You've got a guy that's committed to play for the South Carolina Gamecocks, and Eric Shaw, and a fine young man on top of that. Tell us about this guy.
Hey, well, you just said he's a fine young man. He's just as good a young man as he is a football player. He's both sides of the ball. He's got multiple offers for defense and offense. He's committed to South Carolina as a flex tight end, but he's been huge for us. And if we can't utilize him in certain areas as far as getting the ball to him, because of who he is and what he does, he opens up other avenues for other players. So a lot of times, just having him on the field is just is huge for us because everybody's going to pay attention to that guy. You don't see many players like him on our level, but he's lived up to the hype. He's had an unbelievable postseason these last 4 games. He's played better than he has all year. He's healthy for the first time in his career, really, with us, and he stayed healthy all year. So we're blessed to be in this situation with him.
Going to be a fantastic matchup in the Class 2A title game at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Real Town Rebels and the Fife Red Devils. Ought to be great. Coach Matt Johnson, head coach of the Real Town Rebels, with us. Coach, best of luck at Auburn at Jordan-Hare Stadium in the 2A championship game.
I appreciate it.
We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Things feeling a little uneven at home? Ox Foundation Solutions will fix your uneven concrete sidewalk, driveway, or basement in no time. Locally owned and accredited, Ox Foundation Solutions will come up with the right fix for you. Get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
WOTM, your new home for high school sports in Alabama. WOTM has you covered with live coverage of all 7 championship games of the Super 7. WOTM is available to all TV providers in Alabama. If WOTM is not currently a part of your channel lineup, call your provider and request that they add WOTM. WOTM, your exclusive TV home for the AHSAA Super 7 basketball, baseball, and softball championships. All live only on WOTM.
I'll just be a minute.
What you just did with that clutch was so clutch. Just like when you ditched your old credit card and got the America's First credit card with a low interest rate and cash back on purchases.
Back at the AHSAA in Montgomery, we're going to talk Class 1A football. The Class 1A state championship game at Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn next week will be a battle of Panthers. The Lynette Panthers and the Mars Hill Bible Panthers out of Florence. The head coach at Mars Hill Bible is Coach Daryl Higgins. He joins us at this time. And, Coach, glad to have you with us. You're the defending state champion. The sports writers don't always get it right, but maybe they did this time. The last ASWA poll, they had 1 and 2, you and Lynette. And so here it is, you and Lynette, 1 and 2. Will be a great matchup. Just kind of your thoughts on the state championship game in Class 1A coming up with Lynette.
We're just excited to be in the game. We know Lynette's an outstanding team. We've kept up with them through the years. They won the 2A state championship a couple years ago, and we were 2A, and we know all about them and had our eye on them. We thought they'd be here last year, and looking forward to getting to see them up close and personal.
Tell the folks out there, because Mars Hill, if you're thinking, well, I've never heard of this Mars Hill Bible School, where did they come from? You've been playing sports in the Athletic Association for a lot of years, but not football. Relatively new in football, one of the younger football playing programs in the state, and it's been amazing where you've come from a school that couldn't win a game to now it seems like a school that can't lose a game, have one of the longest winning streaks in the state of Alabama. The transformation up in Florence of this program over the last 3 or 4 seasons has been one of the great stories, I think, in high school football in this state in a long time.
Well, it's our 6th year to have football, and we've just been very fortunate and blessed to be at an outstanding place, have fine athletes and a lot of administrative help, and we've been really blessed with some good coaches, and a lot of things have came together for us to be able to move forward the football program.
You're the defending state champion last year in that 1A title game at Jordan-Hare Stadium against Linden. I think you kind of took the state by storm, if not surprise. You won that game pretty handily, 53-26 over a good Linden team, and a lot of people were just really impressed by your football team. Fundamentally sound, hard-playing team, hard-nosed team. A lot of folks, the buzz coming out, I know staying on the sidelines last year watching your game, a lot of folks were talking about Mars Hill and what a great football team you had.
Our guys just had probably our best night of football. It turned out to be in the state championship games. Kind of everything came together, and had a great senior class last year, and they kind of the ones that put us on the map and trying to continue building off what they started.
I know everybody also was talking about, hey, you better look out for these guys in 2019 because they got everybody coming back. So this is a veteran team you have returning.
Well, we lost a lot of guys from last year. This has been a lot of young guys growing up and getting in here and taking new roles. And fortunately, we've been able to win some games and continue to grow and get better. And it's just a lot of fun to coach the team we got.
Got a great offensive team. You put up a lot of points. You put up a lot of points all year long. Tell us what folks can expect from you offensively at Jordan-Hare.
Well, we run wing T offense, which is about all I know, so there's not much else we can do, but we got some really good offensive linemen that take a lot of pride in blocking. Our backs run hard, and we just try to execute and do the little things right.
How do you feel about coming back to play at Jordan-Hare, the same place, some familiarity there? Obviously, the big Jumbotron and being in the college stadium, that's something that won't be new to your guys this time that was new last year.
Right. It's something that, hopefully they can use the experience they gained from last year to help them this year, but there's no way to put it in perspective what it's like playing there. We got an 8th grade starting quarterback, and so when you get out there and look at that big Jumbotron and see the crowd and everything, it brings out the excitement in everybody.
This is a family affair for you and your football team. Talk about son playing on the team.
Oh, that's a great experience. It's a lot of fun, just, him being part of the team, getting to go through this. And when we left Dexter to come to Mars Hill, he didn't really even want to come. He's like, Mars Hill, they don't play football over there. And then I said, well, if you'll come with me, I think we can build something here. And he's been a big part of what we've done.
Tell us about Lynette. I know you haven't had a chance to really get in there and break the video down like you want to do. But as you mentioned, 2 years ago, they won the 2A, dropped down to 1A in the last reclassification cycle. Didn't make it back last year. They were upset by that Linden team that you beat. But now, here in 2019, they are back in the championship game. What are your thoughts about Lynette?
Oh, they're loaded. They got a tremendous team. They got, of course, Christian Story, the quarterback, who's broke every record in the history of Alabama football. And we watched them. We carried our team down there 2 years ago when they were playing in the championship. And we said, here's where we want to get to. This is kind of the standard, and they've lived up to that, and it's going to be a tremendous challenge just to give them a good football game.
I know you'll have I was amazed last year, the crowd that you brought, the community that you have at Mars Hill, just a tremendous crowd that came from Florence to Auburn last year. I'm sure you're expecting that to be true again.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Last night, they just gave us so much excitement and momentum. We were really in a tough game last night, and the crowd, you could just feel the support and the energy, and the stands were packed. And Mars Hill people has just been great following our football team.
Mars Hill beating Pickens County on the road 22-18 in the semifinals, back in the state championship game for the 2nd year in a row at Jordan-Hare Stadium against the Lynette Panthers, a battle of Panthers coming up in Auburn at Auburn University. Coach Darrell Higgins, thank you so much. Congratulations on the state championship last year and being back in the Super 7 again. Best of luck next week against Lynette.
Thank you.
Darrell Higgins, head coach of the Mars Hill Bible Panthers in the 1A title game for the 2nd year in a row. We'll be back with more.
It's time to get after it. So turn it on, crank it up, and let's get after it together. America's first small business services.
Hot under the collar because your basement is full of water? Call a local company you can trust. Ox Foundation Solutions. We use the most advanced water management system to stop water from invading your basement for good. Things feeling a little uneven at home? Ox Foundation Solutions will fix your uneven concrete sidewalk, driveway, or basement in no time. Ox Foundation Solutions has the best plan to keep your home safe. If you are experiencing any issues with your sidewalks, basement, crawl space, or foundation, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
WOTM, your new home for high school sports in Alabama. WOTM has you covered with live coverage of all 7 championship games of the Super 7. WOTM is available to all TV providers in Alabama. If WOTM is not currently a part of your channel lineup, call your provider and request that they add WOTM. WOTM, your exclusive TV home for the AHSAA Super 7 basketball, baseball, and softball championships. All live only on WOTM.
We are back and continuing to preview this year's AHSAA Super 7 State Championships at Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn. The 3A title game will be a somewhat familiar title game because we've seen it before, talking about Mobile Christian taking on the Piedmont Bulldogs, and the head coach of the Mobile Christian Leopards is here with us at this time. Coach Ronnie Cottrell. Coach, glad to have you with us. Congratulations on bringing another team back to Auburn and back to the Super 7.
Well, this is just an outstanding event, and we're just so honored to be a part of it. At the start of the year, I didn't think we would be there. We started out 3-4, but our team rallied together. After the Flomaton loss, I think it kind of changed it all. Kids got together and said, "Hey, we're fixing to be out of this thing." But we've won five in a row and some really, really big games. So I think it's really quite, it's just an honor for our kids to be involved.
One of the things we're seeing, I think, is a theme around the state this year, perhaps like no other year that I've seen. A lot of rematches. You were a part of a lot of those. You had one in the semifinals. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But we're seeing that some of these regions around the state are just so tough from top to bottom. And you're in one of those regions, Class 3A Region 1. You start talking about your team, Flomaton, who won it last year, T.R. Miller, one of the perennial powers all time in state history, Bayside Academy. We could go on down the list, but you feel like that playing in that tough region like Region 1 prepares you once you get in the playoffs?
There's no question. In 2015, I think Bayside represented us in the championship game. We did it in 16. In 17, Hillcrest won the championship. In 18, last year, Flomaton won it. And, of course, this year we're going to represent Region 1. But, as an old coach, tough schedules do make you better. It's not fun while you're doing it. I mean, we played UMS, who's the 4A championship. They're in the game here. We played a 5A team, Faith, that was undefeated, and we also lost to a top-ranked 5A team in Florida. But I think all of that has prepared us for where we are, and it's amazing. God's doing a work on our team by making us be more unified. And if we have a chance against a program like Piedmont, it's only going to be we have to do it together for sure.
Piedmont is kind of the same way. I was at the Calhoun County Football Media Day earlier this summer, and Steve Smith, the head coach of your opponent at Piedmont, we were talking about the fact, if I'm a betting guy, and I'm not, but if I was, in 3A, just about every year, it's going to be Region 1 versus Region 6, and it worked out that way again. This has been the teams you just mentioned against either a Piedmont or a Randolph County or a Sachs or somebody like that down through the years. It has been really interesting to watch how these two regions, even though they're on the opposite ends of the state, play each other, it seems, every year at the Super 7.
But you know what? What's interesting about it is the top team in that region is clearly Piedmont High School. And Steve Smith, he's a friend, and I value his friendship. He's a phenomenal coach. I mean, they're 13-1 this year and lost a lot of players last year. They lost to Flomaton in the championship game, yet they're right back here. And they beat a really good Walter Welborn team very soundly Friday night. So it's not probably the best place to be in to be the head coach to have to play their team, but we're excited about the opportunity. We've got to somehow make this a full quarter game, give us a chance to win this thing at the end.
This is the same matchup you mentioned in 2016 being at Auburn, at Jordan-Hare Stadium against Piedmont. So kind of the same day, same opponent, same venue. I know you're hoping for a different result.
Still a nightmare, I want you to know. Still a nightmare for us. But, you know, in that particular game, they're so physical. It's kind of personifies Coach Smith. Very physical run game. And they got the lead on us, and we never could get it back. They possessed the ball most of the game. And I don't know what we're going to do about that. I really don't. I don't know how we're going to have an effective plan on that. But we're just getting started, as you know. You know how it works. We're just really getting to study those guys. But we're going to have to figure out a way to keep that ball from them because nobody does it better than they do.
Tell us about your football team. We know you've come out of a tough region. Maybe some of the individual players that folks need to look for. I know you got a great defensive player. Yeah. Tell us about some of the guys.
We've tried to build it. This was my 5th year at Mobile Christian School, and we've tried to build it on the defensive side. I don't know, I had a high school coach that he took everybody and put them on defense, and we worried about offense later, and we've followed that some. Our best player is Deontay Lawson. He's a junior. He's probably 6'3", about 215. He's that hybrid outside backer position. He plays inside for us too. But he's been offered by every SEC school as a junior, and he's one of the best I've ever had. I mean, I've coached a long time. He's truly one of the finest football players. But he's really not the only one. And what's happened with us on defense, we've got a lot of junior players that are really emerging in this thing. Our other linebacker, Tate Moore, number 5, does an outstanding job. Shivago McNeil, another junior. Those are all 3 really good football players. But what's made us successful, I think, this year has been that our offense has been very balanced. Our quarterback, Kason Link, has allowed us to be able to throw and run. He's actually a run threat too. And after that, we've really spread the ball. We have a 1,000-yard rusher at tailback in Nick Ellis, but, you know, wide receivers Jason Brooks, Toler Kegley, and even Deontay Lawson playing in the backfield and playing wide receiver. They've all touching that ball, and I think that creates problems sometimes for other teams. But hopefully we can find a matchup that we can get something going on with them.
It is going to be a great matchup. We're talking about the Class 3A championship game. The Piedmont Bulldogs, the Mobile Christian Leopards. They've met before. It was a great matchup. They'll meet again at Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn. Ronnie Cottrell, head coach at Mobile Christian. Coach, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you
Best
very
of
much.
luck taking your team up to Auburn for the Super 7.
We'll see you at the game.
It will be fun. Ronnie Cottrell, head coach of the Mobile Christian Leopards. Our guest with us. We'll be back. Good morning.
Things feeling a little uneven at home? Ox Foundation Solutions will fix your uneven concrete sidewalk, driveway, or basement in no time. Locally owned and accredited, Ox Foundation Solutions will come up with the right fix for you. Get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
WOTM, your new home for high school sports in Alabama. WOTM has you covered with live coverage of all 7 championship games of the Super 7. WOTM is available to all TV providers in Alabama. If WOTM is not currently a part of your channel lineup, call your provider and request that they add WOTM. WOTM, your exclusive TV home for the AHSAA Super 7 basketball, baseball, and softball championships. All live only on WOTM.
I'll just be a minute.
What you just did with that clutch was so clutch. Just like when you ditched your old credit card and got the America's First credit card with a low interest rate and cash back on purchases.
Back at the Alabama High School Athletic Association offices in Montgomery, continuing to talk with coaches that are headed to the ultimate. In baseball, they call it the show. In high school football in Alabama, we call it the Super 7. And the Super 7 championships are rolling along at Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn. Head coach of the 3A North Alabama champions, the Piedmont Bulldogs, Steve Smith, joins us this time. Coach Smith, glad to have you with us. First, let's go back to last night. Congratulations on a big win against Walter Welborn. We talked with Coach Cottrell about this, and we've talked this with this about a lot of coaches out there about rematches this year. I've never seen more rematches, I don't think, in any given year than what we're seeing this year. You were in a rematch with Welborn. They had handed you your only loss and scored 40 points in doing that at Welborn just about a month or so ago.
Right.
But last night, your team wins 41-7. Defensively, totally shut down Welborn last night. A very impressive win at the Field of Champions at Piedmont.
Well, it was one of our better performances of the year last night, John. I was really proud of our guys. We played really, really well. Welborn's got a great team. You know, Coach Smith to be commended for the season they've had. It's been a team they've been building toward for a long time, and I think they finished up 12-2. And you know, but last night was just our night. You know, you have those nights sometimes where it goes your way, and we talked about defense, we talked about special teams, we talked about turnovers. And, you know, we kind of had the upper hand in all those areas that usually play a big part in the games when you got evenly matched teams. So couldn't ask for any more out of our guys.
I referenced this with Coach Cottrell from Mobile Christian, your opponent at the Super 7 Championships, about we talked this summer at a media day event about odds are it's probably going to be Region 1 versus Region 6 in Class 3A. That's the way it has been for the last several years, and that's the way it worked out again. So you're familiar. All the appearances you've made at the Super 7, just I think every time except for the first time in 2009, it's been against the team from that Region 1. So tell us about maybe the difference of style of play from maybe what you play in your region and what they do down the Gulf Coast.
Well, you know, it's really similar. Last year when we played Flumenton, it was a primary running team. The years in the past, we played Mobile Christian in 16, we played Bayside Academy in 15. And just hard-nosed football, teams that are built around defense, and then having some playmakers, much like what we see in our own region, you know, just well-coached teams that are solid. They don't make mistakes, don't beat themselves, and when you turn the film on, you watch these guys, you know, you see teams that you know can be competitive with anybody in the state on a weekly basis, and their region, they're battle-tested, kind of like we are coming out of our region. If you can survive that region and then probably survive seeing one or two of those same people in the playoffs, and then you've had to earn your way to get there, and this year's no different with Mobile Christian. I know they've got a great team, got one of the top prospects in the state next year, and you know, and our guys, we got a younger bunch, but they believe in the Piedmont way, and they bought into what we try to sell them, and they played hard and got better as the years went along.
I think people looked at that Piedmont roster last year down at maybe in the game program at Jordan Hare and said, Piedmont's losing everybody. There's going to be somebody else here next year. You told me this summer that 75% of your team is 9th and 10th graders, an extremely young football team, young at important positions because you got a 9th grade quarterback, but yet you're back here again.
Right, and you know, those guys, you get to this point in the season, you're a sophomore now. If you started out the year as a freshman, you got 14 games under your belt. Some of these kids are not ordinary freshmen. They're really talented players, and they've earned their right to get out on the field and help our team this year. And you know, when you return 2 offensive starters and 4 defensive starters plus a punter kicker, that's really all we had coming back from last year's team that was on the field when we lost to Flumenton. So a lot of things that were wide open. A lot of guys, we got like 3 seniors or 4 seniors, I believe, that are first-year starters as seniors. But a lot of that can be attributed to the fact that we have a B team that we play on Monday nights in 7th and 8th grade only in our middle school. A lot of guys that maybe are surprising some folks this year on the field because they maybe weren't household names going into the season, or guys that we've watched develop in the program. And we have a lot of confidence in those guys, and they've earned their way out there. And you know, it's next man up mentality. Faced a couple of injuries this year to some guys that were off to big starts for us, and then we've had other kids just step in there and fill those roles. And again, I can't say enough good things about our team, and their youth is something that's been kind of a shot of enthusiasm for us as coaches, you know, because it is a different style of kid that we're working with this year, but it's been a fun season to this point.
Maybe not a situation where they're household names yet, but I think that's one of the things that I noticed just watching your team play Friday night against Welborn is there's not a big star on this team. There's not that 1 or 2 guys on the team that are kind of carry the team. This is pretty much across the board, just a really solid team that you've got there without a lot of big superstars.
And that's the mindset that I have. I'm not really good with a lot of individuals and trying to bring individuals together. One thing that makes Piedmont so special, in my opinion, is the kids buy into the fact that they're playing for the team. They're playing for the name that's on the front of the jersey, not the one on the back. They play the positions that we need them to play, and a lot of times they sacrifice personal goals for the good of the team. And you're not going to find a roster that's got a lot of Division I prospects on it. You know, we got a bunch of guys that are good, hard-nosed high school football players. Some of them might get a chance to play at the next level, but I'm most proud of the fact that they bought into playing for their school and playing for the team and doing whatever it takes for the team to be successful.
Piedmont Bulldogs won their first state championship in 2009. They've won a couple more since then. They're going for their fourth state championship just since 2009 in school history, coming up next week at Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn as Steve Smith and the Piedmont Bulldogs take on the Mobile Christian Leopards. Coach Smith, thank you so much. Congratulations on another successful season. Bulldogs and the Leopards at Jordan-Hare Stadium next week at the Super 7 State Championships. Back with more in just a moment.
It's time to get after it. So turn it on, crank it up, and let's get after it together. America's first small business services.
Hot under the collar because your basement is full of water? Call a local company you can trust. Ox Foundation Solutions. We use the most advanced water management system to stop water from invading your basement for good. Things feeling a little uneven at home? Ox Foundation Solutions will fix your uneven concrete sidewalk, driveway, or basement in no time. Ox Foundation Solutions has the best plan to keep your home safe. If you are experiencing any issues with your sidewalks, basement, crawl space, or foundation, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
WOTM, your new home for high school sports in Alabama. WOTM has you covered with live coverage of all 7 championship games of the Super 7. WOTM is available to all TV providers in Alabama. If WOTM is not currently a part of your channel lineup, call your provider and request that they add WOTM. WOTM, your exclusive TV home for the AHSAA Super 7 basketball, baseball, and softball championships. All live only on WOTM.
Wrapping up our look at all the coaches going to the Super 7 state championships in the Alabama High School Athletic Association, and we're doing that with a special guest at this time, head coach of the Jacksonville Golden Eagles, the North Alabama champions in Class 4A football, Coach Clint Smith. Coach, congratulations on a phenomenal season. We're going to tell you how phenomenal this season is right off the bat. Only 2 teams in the Super 7 this year have never been to the Super 7. 2 teams from Calhoun County, Jacksonville, and Oxford. But 1 team has never been to a state championship game ever in school history. Oxford's won 3 before, back before the Super 7, Super 6, but Jacksonville, before this year, had never been past the second round of the playoffs. This year, going all the way to the state championship game. That in and of itself, Coach, is amazing. I know this has been an unbelievable season at Jacksonville.
It has. You know, I'm just super excited for our kids, you know, that's put in so much work, and our coaches has done a great job. And really just the whole community, you know, the community's rallied around this team, and, you know, just great support all year long for them, and just happy for our school and community to have this opportunity to play for a state championship.
I'll tip my hat to Coach Smith here, because this has been years in the making. This has been a process. This is not just one talented group of young men and they just happen to have a good year. Jacksonville and your staff and coaches in this community and school have been building to this for a long time. You have not just a great team, you've built a great program there in Jacksonville.
We feel really good about our program, where it's at, where it's headed. You know, last night's win, you know, one of the great things was seeing some of the guys that had come through that had played, you know, my first year there and my second year there, and guys that had really kind of helped set the tone for really where we are now. And you know, we got a great group of seniors that, you know, have most of them have been there for 4 years with us, and you know, we've been close. We've been close to breaking through that barrier, and you know, this year, you know, these guys just really took it to another level, and you know, I just can't say enough about, you know, all the kids that have come through our program, and you know, we've been very consistent with our coaches. We haven't had, you know, any turnover or turnaround with our coaches, and it's just you know, just excited for them and for the opportunity.
Semifinal game was at Golden Eagle Stadium in Jacksonville against an arch rival in Anniston, just 12 miles down the road, a rematch of a regular season game. You win the game 34-13. There's no question. The biggest night in Jacksonville high school history, period. 10,000 people maybe at this game. I mean, they're lined up all the way out in the highway, miles away to get in this game. Standing room only 5 deep. That's it's amazing stuff. What's going on there in Jacksonville in 2019?
It was no doubt the largest crowd to ever see a game there, and it was just it was awesome to go out of the locker room at 5 o'clock and the stadium be filling up, and anytime a kid stepped onto the field, a huge ovation for. I mean, it was an electric type atmosphere, and that was one of those atmospheres I was glad that our kids got to experience, and just the excitement and electricity going through. Playing Anniston, a team that was doing really well this year. It was the second time we had to play them, and it was just a lot of talk leading up to the game, and just an unbelievable atmosphere. Somebody said it took an hour and a half to get from the MAPCO to the stadium, which is about a quarter of a mile. It was just the lines and just the excitement, but it was a great atmosphere and fun to watch.
You've got a lot of talented players, obviously, on this team, but you've got one guy that is really, really special. Ron Wiggins, great tailback, probably as good a running back as there is in the state in any classification. Really special player. Tell us about him.
Ron's a great kid. He works hard. He's very humble. Just goes out and just makes plays. Anytime you can get the ball in his hands, he's got a chance to take it, all the way. And he just kind of evolved. He came in on the scene last year as a junior, was his first year starting, and had a tremendous year. And then this year coming in, we had some question marks up front. We graduated 5 guys up front last year on the offensive line, and so we knew things might be a little tougher for him as the year went on. But man, our guys up front have really improved and gotten to playing really well. And so he's been able to do some great things this year. He's had a great playoff run over the past 3 or 4 games, and just can't say enough about him and his character, and he's got a bright future ahead of him.
Now Jacksonville High School comes to the biggest stage in high school football in this state, the Super 7, Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn, taking on a team that knows a lot about going to the Super 7, UMS Wright Prep, with legendary coach Terry Curtis. Your thoughts on the Bulldogs out of Mobile?
Well, I was joking with Coach Curtis. We, we're sitting at the table, and he was going through all the what you were doing and all this, and I was like, well, I'm just going to listen to you, and we'll make our itinerary based on yours. But Coach Curtis is, one of the greatest coaches in the state, and he's got the wins to prove it. And UMS Wright is a program that is no stranger, championships and the Super 7, and it'll be it's going to be a tough task. But our guys have played well all year. They've played hard, and I know that they'll be hungry, and I'm just excited about them having an opportunity to come and play for a state championship. And, like I said, it's just something to be proud of, and proud for our community and everyone involved.
Not only making their first appearance in the Super 7, their first ever appearance in a state championship game. A really memorable season for the Jacksonville High School Golden Eagles. Their head coach, Clint Smith, with us. Coach, congratulations on the big win against Anniston. Best of luck against UMS Wright Prep in that Class 4A state championship game. We'll be back in just a moment with more.
Things feeling a little uneven at home? Ox Foundation Solutions will fix your uneven concrete sidewalk, driveway, or basement in no time. Locally owned and accredited, Ox Foundation Solutions will come up with the right fix for you. Get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
WOTM, your new home for high school sports in Alabama. WOTM has you covered with live coverage of all 7 championship games of the Super 7. WOTM is available to all TV providers in Alabama. If WOTM is not currently a part of your channel lineup, call your provider and request that they add WOTM. WOTM, your exclusive TV home for the AHSAA Super 7 basketball, baseball, and softball championships. All live only on WOTM.
I'll just be a minute.
What you just did with that clutch was so clutch. Just like when you ditched your old credit card and got the America's First credit card with a low interest rate and cash back on purchases.
We are back at the Alabama High School Athletic Association offices in Montgomery. A special day, and we've got a special guest to kind of recap the day here. Steve Savarese is the Executive Director of the Alabama High School Athletic Association, and I know this has to be one of your favorite days and times of the year. These guys coming in, getting ready to lead their team to the state championship game in the Super 7 at Jordan-Hare Stadium, and being able to kind of launch them and give them their charge as they go back to their towns across the state and get ready to come back to Auburn. It's got to be exciting.
This is one of the greatest weeks of the year we have. Anytime we have championships play, you know, it's always a great time. You know, we have swimming going on also this Friday and Saturday in Auburn, so it's great for those folks. But to watch these coaches, they come in almost like students again, like they're the players. And they're so excited this week. Everybody got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and drove to Montgomery today so they could be here for 8:30, and it didn't matter to anybody. They're just so happy to be here, and they're so excited. This is just one of our most outstanding times of the year.
D. Mark Mitchell, we had him earlier from Auburn and Opelika. The planning committee up there does a great job, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But he was talking about he really loves it when there are new teams that have never been before. Got a couple of those this year, both in Calhoun County, Oxford, and Jacksonville, that have never experienced the Super 7 event. Does you agree with that? Is it special, exciting, a little extra when you got teams that have never been before?
Well, that's what I close with today. First of all, never take this for granted, because you may not ever have this opportunity. You'd be an outstanding coach, but you have to also have outstanding players to be here. And you have to have that dynamic mix. And so they might not ever get here, but for those who are here for the first time, it's like being a new student in school. They're just so excited. It's like coming the first day of school. And I caution them, make sure they stay focused on what they're really here to do. And then we have the older guys that have been here a few times before. Don't take it for granted, because this is a special time. And I hope we don't define what our coaches do by whether they make it to the Super 7, because all of them are champions by what they undertake. But for those who do come and experience this is truly, John, a really special time.
Clint Smith, he was here right before you sat down. The last thing he said from Jacksonville High School, had never been a part of this before. And he said, I am blown away by the planning and all the details and all that goes into making this event. And that's a good segue into talking about this event and how big it is, how huge it is, and what it takes to pull this off. Not only with your staff here and the staff at Auburn University, but you've got the folks from Auburn and Opelika, 300-400 volunteers. They're not getting paid. They're giving of their time for a week, and more than a week really, to make this event as special as it can be for the student athletes, the coaches, the fans, band members, cheerleaders, and it takes every one of those folks to make an event like this happen.
Well, anybody can host a football game, but to host a championship event, it takes a village. And we have the friendliest village on the plains hosting this time. Their customer service is second to none. They do a fantastic job. All the volunteers, the Night Edie Sports Group, who we hire to help administer this game, because there's so many there's not enough people in this office who can make all the moving parts work. And we try to add the pageantry from the eagle flying to the videos before the game. We have a singer coming in who's going to sing God Bless America, and if you've ever heard a better version, let me know. The governor will be there Wednesday night for the game. We'll have dignitaries all week. We really say this is a happening this week, and it takes a year of planning to host 7 football games. On Saturday, they'll play the SEC championship, and they plan for that one game year-round. We are going to host 7 championship games at one site. We're going to do it 7 times, and it takes a great staff here at the association, great volunteerism from the city of Auburn and Opelika. We just, think of the police who provide all the escorts. Think of all the vendors who will be providing food, the volunteers to help park, take in equipment. I could just go on, but it takes everyone to make this happen. And to see everybody come together, and what's really neat is today we're going to play the Alabama and Auburn football game. And everybody's going to be very passionate about who wins the game. The best part of this is watching Alabama and Auburn come together to do something worthwhile for our student athletes. And that's been the greatest solace to us, is to see how they can work together to put on the greatest high school football championship, we think, in the country.
And it was special this year because Alabama began right after their last home game against Western Carolina with stadium construction. There's some new renovations they're doing. So they asked Auburn, hey, can you guys take this in another year, a year when you're not accustomed to having this with really kind of short notice? Great cooperation between Tuscaloosa and Auburn-Opelika. And I know you want to say a special thank you to the folks at Auburn-Opelika for doing this 2 years in a row. What an undertaking.
Well, I'll never forget Ron Anders, the mayor, and D-Mark, I call him the governor of that area, Mayor Fuller. We all got together, and I'll never forget what Ron Anders said. He said, Coach, if you want us and need us to do this, we'll do anything for y'all. And I said, well, we got to have a place to play. And he said, it's done. And so he brought all of his folks. He brought all his folks in, and they just said, no problem, we'll do it. The administration at Auburn, they've resodded the center of the field for our games coming up this week. So what else could you ask for? I mean, we are the most blessed high school athletic association. We're blessed to have great partners like Auburn, Opelika, and Tuscaloosa.
And if folks don't know this, not just Super 7, but we can talk about all of our state championship events. You mentioned swimming and diving. That will be at Auburn at the Martin Aquatic Center coming up on the weekend as well. The standard, in my opinion, in high school sports in the United States of America, as far as championship events go, is the state of Alabama. Alabama is the leader, the innovator. There's no other state that does state championship events like the Alabama High School Athletic Association.
Well, Alvin and I had the privilege last year. We were invited out to the Texas High School Football Championships, and they play them in the same place the Cowboys play, in that stadium. It's AT&T Stadium. And we went there and watched, and they have a lot more people than we do. But what they don't have is they don't have anything besides a football game. Mm-hmm. Even the presentation, which they have, it was a very nice event. But ours, we hope we create something that our student athletes remember, and our coaches for the rest of their lives. We want it to be an experience of a lifetime, and we want them to never forget it. It's not just the game. Everybody plays a game, but it's what you do outside the game that's meaningful for the fans, for the players, and their coaches.
We're going to take a break. We'll come back, and we're going to spend some time with Coach Savarese, and we're going to talk about, he mentioned memories and creating memories. We're going to go down memory lane a little bit and talk about some past Super 7s and get you set for the Super 7 Championships 2019. When we come back in just a moment.
It's time to get after it. So turn it on, crank it up, and let's get after it together. America's first small business services.
Hot under the collar because your basement is full of water? Call a local company you can trust. Ox Foundation Solutions. We use the most advanced water management system to stop water from invading your basement for good. Things feeling a little uneven at home? Ox Foundation Solutions will fix your uneven concrete sidewalk, driveway, or basement in no time. Ox Foundation Solutions has the best plan to keep your home safe. If you are experiencing any issues with your sidewalks, basement, crawl space, or foundation, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
WOTM, your new home for high school sports in Alabama. WOTM has you covered with live coverage of all 7 championship games of the Super 7. WOTM is available to all TV providers in Alabama. If WOTM is not currently a part of your channel lineup, call your provider and request that they add WOTM. WOTM, your exclusive TV home for the AHSAA Super 7 basketball, baseball, and softball championships. All live only on WOTM.
back with the Executive Director of the Alabama High School Athletic Association, Steve Savarese. And, we call you coach because you were a coach. And you coached in this state for many years and coached in the Super 7. You have a unique perspective because you've been on the coaching end of it as a participant, but also obviously as executive director, you've been in charge of leading this event. So that, I think, gives you a unique perspective that not many people have.
Well, it was, I thank Mr. Washburn while we spoke to the coaches. I never want to forget Mr. Washburn because he was the one who started the Super 6 concept of we played in Legion Field. And as a coach, that was one of the greatest experiences of my life. We played in it 3 times, and 2 of them I didn't like to ride home very well. One of them, it was awesome. But I'll never forget one of our assistant coaches, the first time we played, he walked out on the field, he said, "I never thought I'd be here." And he started to tear up. And it means so much to so many, and it's a culmination as a coach. You reach the ultimate goal of what you're trying to achieve. And so many years you coach, and it should never define you, but you just can't win it every year. You'd like to, but you end your season with a loss. And that one time or 2 times or 3 times you get to end it by playing in this game. It's just such a rewarding experience, not only for you personally, but for your entire community, your coaches and students. It's just a great experience. So I was blessed to have that experience, and we've just tried to continue to build on what Mr. Washburn has created and make it, try to make it even more special as we move forward.
It should be a great year this year. You look at some of the matchups we have here. Great schools and communities and coaches here in Class 1A, Lynette, Mars Hill Bible of Florence, Reeltown and Fife in Class 2A. Rounding out some of the smaller schools there, Mobile Christian and Piedmont. Those small school games are going to be phenomenal. And I will tell folks, if you have never watched small school football, those 6 programs right there, that's as good as it gets as high school football.
John, I'd never really try to correct you. Like my wife would correct me, but you called it small school. It's small enrollment,
right?
But I can tell you it's big time football with those schools.
I'm a small school guy, as you know myself, and I love it.
And I love it too. And to watch Mars Hill play Lynette, oh my gosh! If you want an exciting football game, where there'll probably be a lot of points scored with some unbelievable athletes on the field. There's a lot of 1A athletes that are playing in the NFL right now. And there's kids that are highly recruited on both those teams. The Reeltown Fife, oh my gosh, Fife and Reeltown, Fife is how many they won in a row now? Because I've gone up to present the trophy a lot of years up at the school. And Coach Benefield does an awesome job, but Coach Johnson, he's one of our up-and-coming young coaches. It's going to be great. Then you got Steve Smith. I call him the new mayor of Piedmont, Steve up there. And Piedmont, beautiful facilities, beautiful school. They do a great job. And Ronnie Cottrell, longtime coach, collegiate coach. Got some great athletes at Mobile Christian. That one ought to be a shootout. So those 3 are going to be 3 great ones right there.
Then we get into the larger enrollment schools. UMS Wright Prep, we talked about Jacksonville in the 4A game, Pleasant Grove and Central Clay County in 5A, 6A, Spanish Fort and Oxford making their first ever appearance in this event. And then a rematch of last year's 7A, kicking it all off on Wednesday night with Thompson and Central Phoenix City. Again, phenomenal football teams and programs right there.
Well, last night, I happened to go the first half of the UMS Wright game, the second half of the Spanish Fort game. And I was, of course, talking to a lot of people, a lot of our folks at other games. They said all across the state of Alabama, the stands were packed. Stadiums were full everywhere. I had 2 calls last night. Coach, we ran out of tickets. What do we do? I said, find some and sell some more and get it. But, so it was just a great atmosphere last night. And now we have an even better atmosphere, if you can have one, with UMS Wright in Jacksonville. I'm really excited for Clinton bringing Jacksonville High School here the very first time and in this event. They're so excited. I have a young lady who was an assistant principal with me at Benjamin Russell High School, the minute the game ended, she texted me, Coach, can I have 3 sideline passes? And, you know, so, I mean, you can just tell the enthusiasm. And when I talked to Clint today, he's just so excited about participating in this game. And then you got the dean of our coaches, Terry Curtis, very well coached. And if you look at them when they come on the field, they're going to look little. But I promise you they're well coached and do a great job. Pleasant Grove, first time in this event, just what a surprise. You know, they're number 3 seed, I believe, coming out of District 5. And I've heard, I haven't seen them play, but I heard they have great athletes. And then you got Central Clay. I mean, Danny, they surprised, beating Viger last year, surprised everybody. They're not a surprise. They're the real deal this year. So everybody in Clay County is going to be here. Pleasant Grove going to bring a huge crowd. Thursday night should just be an awesome night. Spanish Fort, first number 4 seed that's ever made this contest. And Coach Blackman made a key coaching change when he moved this young man who's committed to Ole Miss to quarterback. And I watched him last night. And if Coach Saban and Coach Malzahn don't recruit that kid, I know we don't know anything about that stuff anymore. But I'm telling you, he's special. He reminded me of a kid I coached named Pat White, and he was pretty special. And this kid had 300-yard rushing. They only threw 4 passes last night at Spanish Fort, but every time he touched the ball, the word I would use, he's electric. And you don't want to miss that Friday night, because when he touches the ball, he can score from anywhere, any place, anytime. And we haven't had a young man like that. He plays offense, he plays defense, and he returns punts. And you don't see that much in 6A football. And then a rematch. You know, last year, Tulia got hurt, the quarterback from Thompson, and this young man who came in as his backup kind of had a rough night against Phoenix City. Pretty much anybody had a rough night against Phoenix City last year. But this young man now has made remarkable improvement. We saw him against Hoover in the semifinals, and he really threw the ball well. So this ought to be a great matchup to start our championships off on Wednesday night. So we're really excited. We have great football games. Phoenix City, as always, has got athletes all over the field.
Be a phenomenal matchups coming. We'll give you the rundown once again. 7A begins Wednesday night at 7. That will be Thompson and Central Phoenix City. Then we go into Thursday. 3 games on Thursday, beginning with a Class 3A title game at 11 a.m. That's the Piedmont Mobile Christian game. Then we come back at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll have the 1A game, Mars Hill Bible and Lynette. Then the 5A game that night, where, as you mentioned, all Clay County will be there, Central Clay County and Pleasant Grove. And then Friday will be the same schedule, begin at 11 o'clock in the morning with a unique matchup between UMS Wright Prep and Jacksonville. We go to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll have that 2A game, Fife and Reeltown, tradition-rich teams there. And then we got that 6A game between Oxford and Spanish Fort that'll take place at 7 o'clock on Friday night. Before we let you go, Coach, I want to talk about another event that has been added under your leadership to the Super 7. That's at 3:30 on Wednesday afternoon at Jordan-Hare, the Unified Sports football game, kind of a tag football game between special needs team. Vestavia Hills taking on a team from Baldwin County. Really, for somebody like me, this is a special place in my heart for a game like this. And tell us about that.
Well, Dr. Bashan, who is over Special Olympics, excuse me, and I've been talking too much this morning, in Alabama, came to me and we started discussing ways we could work together. Because those kids, we have so many kids within our schools who unfortunately don't have the opportunity that some of our other student athletes have. So we found a way through unified games to take students with intellectual disabilities placed along students without intellectual disabilities and allows those kids to play a touch football game together, a flag football game, and watching those kids work together and participate in the game is one of the most humbling experiences we could ever have. And it really reminds us of what our purpose really is in this profession. So we're blessed to have that game start us off because it's a great, great opportunity for those kids.
A great way to end our time here in Montgomery. Steve Savarese, Executive
Sean,
Director
thank
of
you,
the
John.
Alabama High School Athletic Association. We hope to see all of you at Jordan Hare for the Super 7.